Back again. Had a fun one last time, but we're back on the
Yeah.
movie grind. So this time we're changing it up a little bit though. We're doing our top 10 favorite or best 90s movies. We didn't really like
Mm-hmm.
specify to one another what that really meant. So I think some of them, and we talked about it a little bit. So some of them might be favorites, some of them might be cinematically the best, some of them might be best story, best direction, whatever. But that's what we're going with. And we have a special guest here.
Yeah, we do. We sure do.
Very
Joining us today,
extra special.
joining us today is a very good friend of ours and someone who has just supported both Burke and I and this podcast for a very long time. He is the host of the Take One podcast. He is Mr. Mike Bish. Mike, how are you doing today, man? Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. Doing a lot better than I have been this entire weekend. I'm just glad to make it here, man. This was as stressful as this list was to put together. I'm just super excited to be here and super excited to go through this. I think I told you both. I think it's the interesting thing is just to see how different our lists are going to be, and then what
100%.
What movies are gonna be similar as well on our list, if any. So I'm sure there'll be one or two, but I'm sure there'll be ones that'll be like, "Oh, what? You forgot that? What?"
Yeah,
So
this is gonna be
I'm
fun,
super excited
man.
for that.
Yeah, it was definitely the most difficult list to put together, like by far.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just the 90s is just something about 90s cinema it's just full, like cram packed with.
Uh-oh. Oh, there he
What's
is.
up, dude?
Yo, welcome to the party, pal.
God, man. Guess you'd be doing a little bit more editing than you might have originally intended, dude.
Oh, it's all good, man. All good.
Dude, yeah, hopefully it doesn't. I don't know what the deal is. My Roku won't even connect back to the network. It's weird. I don't know what's going on. It's all good though. All right, so where were we? What have you guys been talking about?
Talking about the good old days and what the 90s was like as opposed to what it's like today, and it's so different. You're just talking about how like the 90s was firing on all cylinders in terms of like everything with music, with every genre of movie category, like everything just felt so alive back then.
Yeah, you're 100% right, dude. It seems like everyone was like very what's the word? Like copacetic. Like everything was just like cool. Everyone was happy with each other. Like no one was all angsty like they are now. Mike, where can we find your ats on the Instagrams and wherever else you might be on the internet?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at MichaelBish _. All I do is just talk about movies and sports. And you can follow me on Instagram at mbish _. And then the Take One podcast on Instagram, it's Take One podcast _. So
awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
And we know that you're a big old sports ball fan.
Yeah,
all the sports
man.
balls. What's your team, dude?
Philly, man. That's
Philly. Okay. Well, yeah, you got the 76ers, but I've seen you post about the Eagles.
Yeah, doing good this year. Good win today, and we'll see where it goes, man. I've just I blame my uncle for everything. I don't want to say blame. He's responsible for getting me into sports, horror movies. So he's responsible for like my activities and what I enjoy in life. So
there's usually like that one person in a family that kind of influences.
Yeah, definitely.
Nieces, nephews, sons, daughters. There's always some story like that in every family, I think. So that's cool, man. That's cool.
Mike, I'm curious. Yeah, we're talking about Philly. What is your go-to place for cheesesteaks in Philly? I know my answer.
So this is a interesting conversation, and I hope I don't like crush your answer. But so there's tourist spots, and everybody always wants to pick Pat's or Geno's. I can tell you, if you pick either of those, they're not terrible, but they are not the spots to go to. If I had to pick two,
I agree.
My favorite is D'Alessandro's, and you can go to Jim Steaks, which
Yeah.
I don't know if they're up. I know I sent an article to you. They caught on fire, so I don't know if they're back in business or not. But those are my favorite two. D'Alessandro's is my go-to though, for sure.
I haven't been to D'Alessandro's, but Jim's was so good. Jim's and Ishka Bibbles, both of those were really good cheesesteak
Nice.
places. I love Philly, man.
Yeah, man.
It's a great city.
Yeah, it's a good art city.
I think like 2008 was the last time I was in Philly, but had fun. Went to a baseball game. It was good. Dude, I think we just jump into our recent listens. Mike, you been listening to anything different, or you just kind of jam out the same stuff usually? What you been listening to?
Yeah, just kind of the same stuff. I go to the gym a lot, so I listen to a lot of rock and a lot of rap music, and I'm not a big fan of the new hip hop stuff, so I'm kind of old school. So I've been just listening to old school hip hop. So nothing really new as far as music wise. Are we doing watch what we've watched too?
Oh yeah,
or just for now.
Oh yeah.
So I'm kind of disappointed I was sick this weekend because I really wanted to go see Violent Night. I feel, and it's crazy because the reviews have been actually pretty good, and I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a lot more people not to not like it, but the reviews have been pretty solid. I see it's more of a comedy action movie than a horror movie, which I kind of figured anyways. So I'm disappointed I didn't get to go see that, but I plan on going to see that this weekend. But as far as recent watches, Wednesday, I watched Wednesday, and that was really, really good. And it kind of frustrates me as like a horror fan that Jenna Ortega hasn't been like a final girl in a movie yet. And although like I'm not the biggest fan of the new Scream movie, it upsets me that she is not the main person in Scream.
She should be. She definitely
she should be.
Yeah. So that was that's disappointing because I mean she's just, as Wednesday Addams did, absolutely phenomenal. So I really enjoyed that watch. But yeah, other than that, I have to throw out a disclaimer. So Burke, I don't know if you listened to the last episode I had Kevin on, but I threw out some breaking news that I have not watched. Yeah, I've not watched The Thing.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up because I was about to ask. Yes.
So I got crushed by Kevin, got crushed by Jess, and I just want to let everybody know that I finally watched The Thing and it lived up to all the hype.
It might be John Carpenter's best film, honestly.
It's really, really close for me. Like, it's absolutely amazing. And when I watch movies like that I haven't seen, I get frustrated with myself because, like, I don't know what the reason was why it took me so long, to watch the movie. There was like nothing in particular. So that was frustrating that it took so long. But again, I'm glad that I got to experience something, for the first time, such a classic for the first time here
awesome.
recently.
There's someone else that's on this podcast right now that I don't know why they haven't watched a lot of really great films that I hassle them about it constantly.
Just you wait, man. Just you wait. I got some movies to talk about. But I'm glad that you love The Thing, man, because that's always like kind of tough whenever people are like, oh, this movie's perfect, you're gonna love it, you haven't watched it, and then you're almost, when you're watching, you're like, oh man, am I really gonna love this? So I'm glad that one, you watched it, and two, that you loved it, because The Thing is like, that's top tier filmmaking, and I do think it's John Carpenter's best movie as well.
So that was a really good watch. But other than that, I haven't watched anything really new recently. So yeah, I thought Wednesday was really good. I know Burke, you said that didn't really interest you that much, but if you ever get a chance, have the time to watch it, I think it's definitely not a horror show, so don't go in expecting that. But it was good. I was really satisfied with it, and there's movies coming up that I really want to go see, like Violent Night. The Mean One, I don't know how good that's gonna be, but there's not much.
The Grinch thing.
Yeah.
Or it's like a knockoff of the Grinch, I guess.
There's just not much coming out this month, so there's not too much stuff to watch. So it'll be a lot of rewatch as far as Christmas movies and stuff like that for me this month. But Yeah, those are the new ones, or what I've been watching recently. And I've been sick this weekend, so I've been in bed just scrolling through. Like, I just go down rabbit holes on YouTube, and I
Yeah,
just
dude.
end up watching all kinds of
Yeah.
crazy shit.
Yeah.
And then I ended up on Netflix, down the reality TV hole. I was watching
Oh
Laguna
god.
Beach. Yeah,
Oh, there
Oh
you
I
go.
don't,
boy.
Like the
I
original,
don't.
like oh
Yeah, the original. I don't, but
3.
I don't remember that coming out at, I just don't remember it. And then I got hooked on that. And next thing I know, it's 2:30 last night, and I'm done with season 1. I'm like, I got to go to bed. This is ridiculous. I was like, I don't
Yeah.
even know if I'm going to bring that. I don't even know if I'm going to bring that up on the podcast. I feel kind of embarrassed about that. But I just go down these rabbit holes like on YouTube and Netflix, and I just end up watching stuff that I'm like, I don't think I would watch this, or I'm like, it just plays, and I'm on my phone, and they say something interesting, and I look up, and I'm just hooked. So.
Funny side
Mhm.
story real quick. So one of the girls on Laguna Beach was actually my dad's ex-girlfriend's neighbor when they lived in LA, and she didn't live in Laguna Beach. she
Oh
she lived
man,
nowhere near Laguna Beach, so
what a
it's just kind of
faker.
funny. Faker. Man, Mike, I completely agree with what you're saying about Jenna Ortega, by the way, dude. I think that this is gonna like just slingshot her career, that role as Wednesday, and I
Mhm.
think she's gonna. I mean, she's already getting a ton of recognition, but I can see her being cast as the Scream Queen, as the lead in something big here soon. Looking forward
Yeah.
to see what it is. I think she's very talented and has like a very good, very convincing presence in film. So
Mhm.
I agree with you, dude. Man, what you been listening to, Kevin?
Listening to nothing new music wise, but podcast wise, I found out that Set Jetter has a podcast, and
Hmm.
just been listening to him talk about, and he doesn't really talk much about his filming location adventures. Not that I've seen anyways, but he and his co-host do a really good job talking about like top 10 movies and movies that they love. So I've been listening to that. As far as like TV and movies go, I also watch Wednesday, and it was tough for me to watch that because Burke and I both feel this way. Like, you will never be able to duplicate the two Addams Family movies from the 90s. Like, those are absolutely gems, and they're so edgy. This Wednesday, like, I think Jenna Ortega's great. I think some of the story beats in it are great, but it feels a lot like you said, Mike, kind of more towards like it's meant for kids. Like, it has like a Percy
Yeah.
Jackson kind of a vibe going on with it. And so it was a fun watch, but man, I just gravitate way more towards the other two Addams Family films. I can't remember the director. His name's escaping me at the moment, but
Barry Sonnenfeld.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but Wednesday was fun.
Yeah.
And
I
then
kind of just with Tim Burton, I kind of figured it would be more along of those lines, anyways. And I like Tim Burton a lot, but he kind of,
mm,
he doesn't always fully go dark. So, but I
yeah,
definitely agree.
especially recently, like his films haven't felt very Tim Burton-y, to me at least. But other movies, Burke, I'm gonna let you down a little bit. I
Oh,
uh, I finally watched your movie Heat,
mm-hmm.
and it was one of those movies that is like so precisely directed and acted, but I just couldn't get into it. It was one of those movies that couldn't grab me, and I don't know what it was. Enjoyed watching it, but I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. One of those types of movies, and maybe I'm just not a Pacino guy. I think that's maybe what it is. I can't like think of a Pacino movie where I'm like, I love that movie. Maybe Any Given Sunday, maybe, but I don't know. So I saw Heat. I was like, I'm gonna let Burke down, but
Yeah. All
man,
right.
I
When
gotta be
that
real.
and everyone, that was episode 6 of
Yeah.
the.
Thank you and good night.
Yeah. Thank you and good night.
But I watched They Live for the first time and loved They Live. I thought that
Dude,
was
I knew you would love that movie.
so
Yeah.
original and fun. And all I keep thinking about is the fight between Keith David and Roddy
It's so
Piper that
good,
lasted
dude. It's so
that
good.
lasted for like 30 minutes. So that was so fun. That was a fun watch. And I also watched the original Suspiria and enjoyed the shit out of that.
Just a
Like
weird movie,
it's
but yeah.
so weird, but it felt like kind of like a, a a bewitching dream, if that makes sense. Like the last 15 minutes feels so deja vu-ish and
Hmm.
dreamlike, and so I really dug that. The imagery in that's fantastic. And
Yeah,
then I rewatched Point Break, which I love. So
great
those are my
movie.
recent
Great
watches.
movie. Uh, Kevin, just so you know, you're like your frames on your video keep like kind of locking up for some reason. Like your audio's perfect, but I don't know why it's doing
My
that.
video's locking up.
Yeah, like every like 30 or 40 seconds or so. Um,
Hmm.
it looks good right now. I don't know why it's doing it, but
Maybe my phone's pressing the delete key. I have my phone on, so maybe that's what it is.
I went to a like weird Krampus like metal show last night. It was like Krampus themed, like art slash metal show. So I was listening to some like sludgy like doom metal on the way there, and the show was actually this band called Acid Witch. So
Oh,
if you
nice.
like weird sludge doom metal, they're pretty good. Unfortunately, the room that they were playing in is like this big just art gallery expo kind of warehouse, and it sounded like ass. So
Yeah,
uh like they're super talented, and I wish that it sounded better, but
yeah,
yeah, it was fun though. There's a bunch of people, a bunch of goth chicks walking around, a bunch of dudes dressed like Krampus in like these huge intricate costumes, so that was
Nice.
pretty cool.
the band was called
um
Acid Witch.
Acid Witch,
I
yeah.
saw a band in Asheville called Flamingo Nosebleed, and so that like crazy name reminded me of that.
Yeah, I love stuff like that, man. It's
Me
all
too.
fun, and they have like this witch character that like wanders around through the crowd and like throws stuff at people. So that's always
Nice.
fun. uh but uh side note, speaking of music, just recently I went from owning 0 guitars to 3 in like a
Mm,
week. So Kevin knows about
Nice.
this. So I'm gonna be diving into that, and
that's gonna be
it's
fun, man.
It's
That will be
uh
fun.
it's it's time. It's time. I grew up in music, and had just been immersed in it my whole life and just never
Mhm.
really embraced it. So it's been a long time coming, and I'm glad that it's finally time to sit down and learn that instrument. So I'm
Oh
excited
yeah,
about it. As far as
Nice.
movies go, dude, yeah, really wish that I uh had gone and seen Violent Night this weekend, but I worked a kind of a different schedule because I was on vacation down in Georgia last week, and dude, I'm just exhausted. I just don't really have like the motivation to go drive to the theater and sit there right now. But which sounds funny because it's not like that takes a ton of energy. But I don't know if you guys know what I mean. Like you just don't like. I just got that like sludgy kind of
yeah.
you know, burned out feeling. So I'm gonna wait
Absolutely.
to where I'm kind of in that vibe to where I'm stoked to go see it. Probably check it out maybe like Thursday. So, but I'm glad that like people seem to be enjoying it,
Hmm.
and that it doesn't just suck ass. So,
Yeah, we need more Christmas like edgy horror movies. I
oh
think
yeah,
there's another one coming out
Yeah.
on Shutter with our guy um, Jeff Daniel Phillips. He's not playing
hmm,
Santa, but it's called Christmas Bloody Christmas that comes out on Shutter.
yeah,
I think the
Yeah.
7th. So
It looks
excited
good.
for that one. Yeah,
yeah. I like
I'm
him,
here
man.
for it.
He's a solid actor. Even though like I didn't love the Munsters, like he definitely made that character his own, and like definitely has a huge presence. So
Yeah, he's fun to
um
watch.
yeah, yeah, he's huge too. He's like pretty sure he's like 6'5" or something.
Mhm.
um I watched I'm actually surprised neither of you mentioned this. Maybe you haven't seen it, but I watched the A Christmas Story Christmas,
I watched that. It was
and I
great.
was pleasantly surprised. Like I thought it was really well done. I thought
Hmm.
that it was really cool that they got all the young original cast members back, and the way they like linked everything without spoilers, the way that they like tied some stuff
Mm.
together, I thought was cool. I had fun. I got to watch it with my dad, and that was a good time. So I enjoyed that. If you haven't seen it, and you're listening, go check it out for sure. It's oozing Christmas vibes, and obviously, but
and it has a lot of heart. The story is very
yeah,
well done.
it does. It does. I definitely,
Mm.
it was a fun watch. Definitely enjoyed it. You seen
I'm
it, Mike?
excited to watch that. No, not
Oh,
yet. I'm
dude.
excited to watch it though. Can't wait.
You'll
Can't
you'll
wait.
like it. You'll like it for sure, man. It's get you a glass of warm cider or something, and some Christmas cookies or something, and
Absolutely. The best way. The best
that's
way.
right. That's right. Well, dude, I'm ready. I'm ready to hear these lists, man. We've all talked about that we were kind of stressing about how hard it was to narrow this stuff down. So I told both of you, I told Mike a couple days ago that I narrowed the list down from 30 to 20 to 16, and that's where I got caught up. Get like,
Mhm.
oh man, there's still some that I was second guessing up until the time that I set up this podcast today, but
I'm
I'm
still
happy.
second guessing.
I'm happy with my list. I'm happy. Man, I think you want to do a little like kind of everyone goes at once, or do you want to do one by one? I think we do one by one. I think that's just to mix it up and hear get the real feel for how different these lists are going to be, or the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be like Kevin and I's. What was that? A top 10 must watch, and we kept. Was it that one, or was it the scariest movies that we kept having the same? Those scariest.
It was,
I think, right?
I think top 10 scariest scenes or scariest
Yeah,
moments.
yeah.
And we
I
had a
think it
couple
was
that
that.
were right there. Yeah. But yeah, that sounds
Well,
good.
Mike, let's hear it, dude. Mike, you're the guest. We're putting you on the spot, man. We're putting you on the spot.
Kicking it off.
That's right, dude.
Okay. So I feel like number 10 is the toughest. I told Kevin coming into this that I feel like that when I came into this, I had 1, 2, 3 movies, and beside them I wrote number 10, and because I could not decide. So when I get put on the spot, I have no choice but to make a choice. At number 10, I'm gonna have to go with one of the movies that are right down there in the corner, and that's Twister.
Yes.
There you go.
It's one of my favorites, man. And you want to talk about rewatchability? I've probably seen this movie over 100 times between it being on TV or just putting it on. I just thought the funny thing about this is when I saw it, I swear I looked at my mom and I was like, I'm gonna be a tornado chaser one day. I'm like, I want to go do that. It looks absolutely scary as shit, but so fun and something that I want to do. So number 10 for me is Twister. I think the acting in it's phenomenal, and the suspense in it is really good as well. And one of the scenes that I thought was just like kind of gut wrenching in a sense. You can talk about the opening. The opening to it is really, really good as well. But even though I didn't you don't feel for these guys, but it's the crew that's going up against the main cast crew, and they try to help them out, and they take a wrong turn, like, hey, you need to bail out, and they just don't listen, and they just get sucked up and they all die. And the back of my mind, I'm like, oh man, that's what you get for being super cocky and acting the way that you did. But it's just like, man, it's just like it just took out like 12 people, like just like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
Jonas,
yeah.
Son of a bitch,
son of a bitch, Jonas.
Jonas Miller, he's a Nightcrawler.
He's the Nightcrawler. He stole Dorothy. It's
like,
great
and
movie.
As soon as it happens, like, he just slams the fucking the CB radio down, and it's just like, man. But it's so good. And once they get Dorothy to fly, I mean, they're still not obviously in the safe zone, and they got to run. And man, just such a good movie. So many great scenes. The cinematography in it is great. So I have to go with Twister number 10. One of my favorites.
That's a great pick, man. I mean, we could talk for days about that movie, and that was actually Twister was our first watch along on Instagram Live.
Oh, nice!
The first one we did, yeah. So, man, it's just a classic. Like pretty much everyone that knows us in this world knows that we absolutely love Bill Paxton, rest in
Yeah.
peace, and
Oh
he
man,
he brings so much emotion and just like such a warm and authentic feel to that story, and I love that movie. I'll always love that movie, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that was your first. Your first, well,
yeah.
your number 10.
Yeah. Definitely a good way to kick off the top 10
Yeah,
list.
absolutely, absolutely. Can't think of a better way.
All right. Number 10. I'm going to go obscure with this one. I don't know if either of you have ever seen this movie. It is so 90s. This reminds me of being 8 years old and wanting to learn how to become a professional skater. This was back when, like, the Disney Channel and Nickelodeon. This was like back in the glory days, like when you like the Disney Channel had the best movies, like really good movies,
Yes.
and nowadays, like it's just not like it was.
Oh, it's trash
Um,
now. Yeah.
but like
These
every
kids
month,
just don't know.
they just
No.
don't know, man. But every month, Disney would come out with just a fun movie to watch. And number 10 is Brink. I don't know if you guys have heard of Brink, but I adored this
Yeah.
movie. Eric Von Detten.
Yes.
It's just got a great soundtrack. It's super quotable. It's really fun. It reminds me of being, like I said, 8 years old. I'm eating like a bologna and cheese sandwich and, and drinking a high C, and I'm just wanting to go outside and learn how to be like a pro inline skater. And the villain who's on Team X Blade's Val is super slimy. The race at the end is really really fun and intense, and it's just a feel good movie, very nostalgic, and just one of my favorites ever. And reminds me, like I said, of being a kid. So that's why it has to be on the list.
I like it, man. Dude,
Man,
I haven't thought about that movie in I don't even know,
Yeah,
like 25 years, maybe
yeah,
something like that. How like pretty much when it came out. I think that's the last time I thought about it.
yeah.
But
I'm a big Disney Channel original movie guy. Like I watched Brink probably last year.
Mm,
Because all that's on Disney Plus. So
yeah,
um I went back and watched that. Such a good such a good
dude.
movie. Pup and Suds. Pup and
Team
Suds.
Team Pup and Suds, man, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
I
still
think
mad
we
at Val for putting the rocks at the end of the hill, almost breaking my
Yeah,
girl's
dude.
arm. Or breaking my girl's arm, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, little
the
asshole.
the memories of that movie are coming like flooding into my brain now. It's it's really funny, man. I think we've said Disney too many times. We're gonna get sued probably.
yeah,
So, uh, dude, that's a good pick, man.
Really
That
good
is
one.
it's
Really
obscure,
good
but
one.
yeah, that is a really good pick, man. Um, so mine's definitely not obscure, but this was the hardest number 10, like we were saying, it was the hardest one for me, and I went with Silence of the Lambs.
yeah.
Um, I one reason I think that I like that movie so much is because it's right on the edge of that 80s 90s kind of transition in cinema, and it does have the feel of kind of like a mid to late 80s film, but it also has that like angst and energy of 90s films, and I love the hell out of that movie. It's
Hmm.
it's 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 one of those movies to where it's hard to watch, but I can rewatch it a lot. Um, I mean, it is perfectly cast. It is one of probably the best stories, the best crime or thriller stories ever.
Hmm.
And it just had to be my number 10. I admittedly don't love Hannibal, the movie Hannibal,
Hmm.
and like the other films in that universe. Red Dragon's cool, but um, as far as I feel like that movie is just like it just stands
Yeah.
alone and deserves to be just its own thing. Um, and I had to go with it, man. It was tough though. It was tough for sure.
Yeah, I trust me, I get that.
Yeah, Silence of the Lambs. That is a perfect movie. It's perfect. Nothing about it I would change. It feels so grainy and intense and icky and heavy with this tension, like from start to finish. It feels so real. That movie's perfect. Glad it's on the list.
I think it's crazy when you look back and like years after films are made and you look at trivia about that, like certain actors or actresses weren't like the original pick for a concept, or like when something was greenlit. And I think that's the case with Jodie Foster, and that's crazy to me because like uh, she is that role, but it's kind of like the same thing with Jamie Lee not really being the first choice for Halloween and that whole story. But yeah, man, I think like you said, dude, that movie is perfect, and like I want to watch it right now just thinking about it. So it's my pick.
Good pick.
It's a good pick, man. Super tough for me. But really good pick, really good movie. One that I really enjoy. So number 9, we're gonna keep going in order, correct? I don't want to jump ahead. Okay.
Oh no.
So number 9 for me, I told Kevin, then I feel like the 90s was a really big year for action movies. And one of my favorite action movies that I feel like is so rewatchable for me is going to be The Fugitive with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones.
Great pick,
dude. Great pick.
Yeah, so good, man. And they follow it up. It's not on my list, so I'll go ahead and say it with U.S. Marshals. I love how they like coincide those movies together. But The Fugitive in general was just such a good movie. Harrison Ford, his performance in it was phenomenal. Obviously, he got set up for killing his wife. And I just love the chase throughout. Throughout that entire movie and what he goes through to survive and to prove his innocence, went through hell. He had to do what he had to do. And what I always wanted to do is go and visit where this movie was filmed, because the train is left behind from where they did the crash from the movie. Like I would love
really?
to go
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I would love to go
man.
and see that. They never went back to pick up the train from that crash. I would love to go, just visit that and see how that is. But Tommy Lee Jones did phenomenal as well in this movie. And I just thought the storyline in it was really, really good. Had me on the edge of my seat. So for number 9, I'm going to go with The Fugitive.
I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
Yeah.
It was the one-armed man.
Literally.
That movie sticks out to me as like it from my childhood, because I remember the first time I saw it. I think my dad was watching it, and he let me watch it, and I was like, "Whoa, this is cool." And I think it might have been like the first time that I really saw Tommy Lee Jones in a film, and then I kind of wanted like just that vibe, that persona that he has in film, and like that character that he plays a lot. I loved it as a kid, so I definitely gravitated towards a lot of films with him. That's a great pick, man. I can't believe I didn't. I feel like an idiot, and I knew that this was going to happen, but like the movies that I didn't think of to even consider, I knew there were going to be some that I'm dumbfounded that I didn't think about them.
Yeah, I feel like we're all going to get hit with that multiple times throughout this list. Yeah, man, such a good movie, and it was one of the movies that really had me on the. I just didn't know who did it. Obviously, you know that Harrison Ford's character, Richard
Dr. Kimball, yeah.
Kimball. Richard, he didn't do it, but you didn't know who did it, and you really don't know until the very last bit. So, really, really good.
They do such a cool like the other doctor that's like his friend that like is the one that kind of sets him up. You don't. They do such a good. No, yeah, man.
Yeah,
some really bangers in here, man. Some great films. Kevin's gonna come with another obscure one, or this one?
No. I mean,
Okay.
I think not obscure, but this one I feel like is underrated and forgotten. It's a survival movie. I love survival movies so much, and I think this may be the most character-driven, um, angsty and realistic survival movies of all time. It's The Edge with Anthony Hopkins
Oh
and Alec
God, yeah,
Baldwin.
dude.
This movie, when I saw it as a kid, I can't tell you how many times I would go out in the woods and create make spears and pretend I was like bear hunting. It's what gave me this phobia, this fear of getting killed by a bear, just like what Jaws did with sharks in the ocean. This is what it did this to me with bears in like the wilderness. And so whenever I go hiking or camping, boom, I think of The Edge and like the most realistic, gruesome bear attack I've ever seen.
Kevin said pretend to go bear hunting. What y'all don't know is on the wall in front of him, he's got many pelts, many bear skins. It's covered in
like the cinematography by Donald McAlpine feels so like it's so gorgeous. It's so vast. I can feel the cold. I can feel the tension. I can feel the clock ticking. The screenplay is really well done. It's very memorable. It's just very angsty and filled with tension and survival, and it just feels so realistic. And I love the ensemble. I think it might be my favorite Anthony Hopkins movie. I think I'm not a big Alec Baldwin fan, but I think it's his best movie. I think he was perfect for that role. He's very slimy and snaky, and it was just perfectly casted. But I adore this movie, and I grew up on it and watched it all the time.
That's a good pick, man. That's another one that I feel like an idiot for not even thinking of.
Same.
Dude, Anthony Hopkins, man. Anthony Hopkins is just crushed it in the 90s, dude.
Yeah.
Like absolutely crushed it. Like what a talent, dude. Like it's crazy like how many people like really like their careers were just propelled by films in the 90s and they just turned into these like superstars. It's cool though, man. It's really cool.
That's a good one. Good pick.
That is a really good one, man. Really good one. So I'm glad that you weren't the first one, Mike, or that I wasn't the first one, that you were the first one to bring up an action movie, because I was hoping that someone would before mine, but my number 9 is gonna be True Lies.
Yeah.
Just a classic film. I absolutely love the story, love how it like there's almost like 3 stories, and I think that's so cool. Like I love like the side part with the story with with his wife messing around on the side, and that whole little side story. Obviously love that it's Bill Paxton and his character's hilarious. Love that the film feels like it's gonna end. And it has kind of like that climax on the causeway and that whole thing, and then it continues, and then you have the daughter being kidnapped, and I think it's so well done, and it's so fun to watch, and so well written, and like the delivery of every line in that movie is perfect, and I love watching that movie. It's just like it oozes 90s goodness, and it had to be in my top 10.
That's a movie I haven't watched in forever, man.
So good, dude.
Isn't the
long time for me too?
Yeah, but it's a classic. All I can think about is when Arnold's like, what does he say? He's like, "Dad, take your clothes off." I don't know what he says, but that's all I think about.
Oh, to Jamie Lee? Yeah. Dude,
man.
I felt dirty as a kid watching that. I was like, whoa. Because I had seen Halloween, so like I knew Jamie Lee, and I like put 2 and 2 together, and I remember watching. I was like, whoa, okay, like I might need to fast forward through this. What's going on here? What are you doing, Laurie Strode?
That's a great pick, man. I got to rewatch that,
man. Yeah. Dude, you know what? I might watch it tonight.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Number 8.
Number 8. We're getting in there, guys. We're getting into the nitty gritty.
This is probably going to be controversial because I know a lot of people don't think that this is his best movie of the 90s or top movie of the 90s. And it's definitely arguable, but for me and rewatchability and what I really enjoy, I have to go with Big Daddy.
Yeah,
Big Adam
dude.
Sandler fan. And he just
Frankenstein.
crushed. Yes, he just crushed the 90s. And I could have went with, Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, and
Happy Gilmore.
I would have been perfectly fine with that. It was between this one and Happy Gilmore, which one I was going to throw on the list. But for me, it's always going to be Big Daddy, man. I just love this movie, and I love Frankenstein, and I love all. I just love how they shot this movie and how you see how immature Adam Sandler's character is, and just how getting this kid thrown into his life just matures him, and how by the end of the movie he's up early in time to grab a McMuffin for the homeless guy in court this time. And I just love it, man. I think it's a feel good movie. It's a sad movie. I think at the end when he gives has to get, obviously the kid is rewarded to his real father, and at the end he kind of hands him off at the park, and Adam Sandler's character kind of looks at him and sees him joking around, and that music hits, and he has flashbacks of the time him and Julian were having fun, going trick-or-treating, peeing on the side of buildings, and all of that stuff. Just a really good feel good moment, and a really good feel good movie for me in general. So it's one of my favorite, if not favorite, Adam Sandler movies. So I'm gonna go with Big Daddy at number 8.
That's a great pick, man. I'm glad that you brought up the trick-or-treating part, because that's probably my favorite scene in that movie. when he walks into the people's house, like, dude, it's so funny, man.
What else?
So
funny. And he's not satisfied. What else you got? The watch?
Yeah, what else you got?
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good.
That movie's so fun, man. Like you said, like it's so funny, but it has it's sad, and it tugs at your heartstrings, and like it's your typical Adam Sandler movie. It has all the elements. It has like his typical friends, the ensemble, and it has like the Adam Sandler humor, but it has like he's got a couple movies that are like that. Like Big Daddy is really funny, but also has heart, and I think 50 First Dates also has that.
Oh yeah,
I love both of those movies, and I did not expect Big Daddy to be on your top 10, but like I quote that movie weekly, dude. Like
that's a good pick, man. I love that. I love that as far as a comedy film goes, I love that's on your list.
30 packages of ketchup.
I love films that are shot on location too, and it feels like a lot like most of Adam Sandler's films, like Little Nicky too, like that whole New York vibe.
What a movie!
It's fun. Yeah, what a get in the flask. Hey, Adrian.
I haven't seen that one in a really long time.
Yeah. I watched it. Actually, I told Kevin last time I watched it. I think I said something stupid, or I sent you like a picture or something, and I can't remember.
Yeah. Man, it's been a while for me too.
Oh, dude. I mean,
he
just
owned
again
the 90s as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like guys like that just like came out of left field and just crushed, like turned into these just larger than life people, in pop culture. And it's cool, man. Pop culture, like the 80s and 90s is pop culture. Like as far as I'm concerned, there is no pop culture now. It's just like it's all like just very like fake feeling now, and it was so wholesome and like real in the 80s and 90s. So
and it's just crazy seeing Adam Sandler now and just how old he is, and it's just like, oh man, where's the time's gone, man.
Well, we're just getting old geezers in here.
Yeah, but he crushed the 90s and the early 2000s. So many good movies.
Dude. Yeah, he really did.
Yeah.
And what I love about him, last thing, what I love about him is how he like took all of his friends and kept them in every movie some type of way. Like he looked out for his friends, and it worked out.
I do love that. I like Kevin and I've talked about this a lot. Like I love people that use the same actors and actresses in films. Like Rob Zombie does it.
Kind of like Rob Zombie.
John Carpenter. I mean, I love that, man. It makes it feel
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, it makes it feel warm,
Yeah.
and like it makes it feel like these these people like had to delve so further into their characters because I think they recognize that they can't be that guy that was also whoever else in the other movie, you know, so that they have to put in
Yeah.
that much more work. Kevin, if you saw me cracking up a minute ago, it was because for certain, like your video cut out for a split second, and 1 minute you were sitting, and the next you had your scream mug like perfectly
Oh,
in
nice.
your mouth, dude. It looked like it teleported in your hand. It was awesome. Oh man. Oh, dude,
Let's see.
I'm loving these lists.
Yeah,
Absolutely loving
man.
these
This is
lists, man.
awesome. This is
I'm gonna
awesome.
like.
Hmm.
I need you guys to once we're done. I need you guys to like send me a message with your list so that I can put together a must-watch list for the winter time.
Same. Yeah.
I'm just gonna burn up some '90s films this winter.
A little bit of hip hop.
Hip hop anonymous.
Damn, you give him the easy ones.
Damn you.
Damn you.
All right. Number 8. I fucking love this movie, man. I think it's probably the best 180s in terms of narrative. I remember seeing this movie on this little TV in the corner of our kitchen. We had like a little TV on the cabinet. One that had like bunny ears and everything. And I remember I couldn't really see what it was because it was in black and white. There was a ton of grain, but I could see just enough. And was obsessed with what I was watching, but didn't know what I was watching, never seen it before. And I like tried to figure out what it was. And it took me a little while to find it when I finally saw it again on cable. It is From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, yeah. Great
Nice.
pick, dude.
By
Really
Robert
good pick.
Rodriguez, screenplay by Quentin Tarantino. This movie, like I said, one of the best 180s in as far as screenplays go. The first half is very like angsty crime thriller, and then the second half just turns into this grindhouse B movie vampire
Bloodbath.
batshit
Yeah.
crazy flick. And I just dig movies like that. Like there's no movie that I can think of that's similar from Dusk Till Dawn. I love the Gecko Brothers. I think it's George Clooney's best movie. I love Harvey Keitel in it. I love everything that happens in the set. I love the whole movie, but I love everything that happens with the vampires. I think they look so cool. I love when they go to the back of the titty twister and they have to create these weapons made by like old truckers products, and it's just cool, man. I love From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
It's a really good pick, and I think that, like, just to echo what you're saying about there not really being anything like that movie, there really isn't. Like the only thing I can think of is also a Tarantino movie. Well, is a Tarantino movie or was written by him, but Inglourious Bastards kind of has that feel a little bit to where it's like the tempo's much different in the first half versus the second half. But
Yeah.
man, just what a like I love that it all takes place in one setting. I love movies like that, and like the second half of the film. And I love like the progression of just insanity to where it just goes off the chains. What a great movie, man.
It just goes for it, and
It does.
it's very ballsy, and I love movies like that. Very gory.
Oh, yeah.
Big creature feature guy, and whenever you're like, oh shit, this is a vampire movie, and it's a vampire movie like you've never seen before, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah, I've always
I love
respected movies that like go for it. And even if they don't hit, I'm like, at least you had the balls to go for it. But this one,
100%,
or the few that go for it and actually hit, that's saying a lot.
The way they look too, the way the vampires look is so unique and fun, and like it's like I like that they're cartoonish in a way, but I also like it. It also to me feels like something that like if the creatures like that did exist, like they could completely plausibly look like these weird deformed things that like morph into, I think that's so cool. Like Tom Savini, dude. I love the band. What is it? Tito and the Tarantulas. So I think that's the name of the band.
Sounds right. Where they're playing like the body parts.
Yeah,
it's fun.
So great, dude. So great. Man, I'm gonna be watching a lot of '90s movies the next couple weeks, dude.
Right?
You know what? It's weird. Like we definitely like I thought was gonna happen. Like each of our picks is definitely a departure from the last, and I love that too. It like really like tells the tale of how the '90s were for cinema and like growing up, like all of that pop culture that I grew up in and that like is a part of me, like how much it meant to me and like how much these movies like molded the way like what I like now and like the way I think. And like as silly as that sounds, I think that like people that immerse themselves in cinema and that loved going to the movies as a kid, it did have a big effect on us. And I'm glad that I got to experience an era like the '90s, for especially for film.
Same. And and like to piggyback up off that, when it comes back around to me, we'll be at 7, just at 7. And from 7 on, all of these movies are like a piece of me in some type of way.
Yeah. Which I think is why it made it so hard to pick this list, is that it was like, how do you like cut yourself into pieces with, the things you love? It's hard. It's hard, but I think we're doing a pretty good job so far. So
and all these movies are like core memories for me. Like,
oh yeah,
all these movies, like the '90s was our heyday. That's
absolutely,
that was everything. That's why we are the way we are. These movies really are a part of us, and they're essential to us, and like I said, are a part of our core memories. And so that's why this was tougher to me than the '80s.
It really was.
This was so tough. But yeah, agreed.
I love that you said like that you remembered where you watched that movie, Kevin. Like that the memory is like so sustained.
I'll never forget that.
You. Yeah, that's cool, man. I dig that for sure. All right, number 8 for me is another just like staple of '90s cinema, and it's Fargo.
Ooh.
Yeah,
it's
that's a good one.
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
had to throw a Coen brothers. Did you? I can't remember if we talked about this, but did you watch the show?
I haven't seen the show or the movie.
Okay.
I know
Right.
the actress that's in Fargo is the same actress that's in 3 Billboards Outside of.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name, but yeah.
But yeah, dude, just a great movie. I love the way the Coen brothers are probably the best storytellers, I would say, in filmmaking. They just have that stylistic vibe that only they can kind of translate into, a just all around good film. And I feel like all of their pieces of work are solid, but my favorite by far is Fargo. I think what's her name? Frances
McDormand, maybe?
Yeah,
McDormand.
Yeah, McDermott. Yeah, she her character's so great, and I love that it's one of those movies to where you have main characters, but you're not so like vested in them individually. They're all like they come together to be one. Like they are the story, and the story's the main character, and I think that's really cool. That's such a cool way to write a story, and such a cool way to like just mesh these characters together and create this world. And I love the world that they create, and just like how silly some of it is. And like their accents, they're like Minnesota, like Dakota accents, and they all sound like Marie. Sorry, Marie. You don't actually sound like that, Marie. But I love that movie, and I had to put it on the list. It originally was one of my honorable mentions, and I caught the tail end of it on TV while I was working on a project the other day, and I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's got to be on there. So I bump. It got the bump, guys. It got the bump. It got the nod.
I gotta watch that
Yeah,
one, man. Yeah, yet another movie that I gotta
yeah.
add to the list.
Yep.
Yeah, I was nervous. Like, what if I watch one of these movies? Is it how far? I know it's gonna make me want to move it up the list or on the list. I
Yeah,
already know.
it was. Yep. All right, number 7.
Yeah, so I mentioned number 7 from here on. Definitely has like sentimental values to me, and is definitely a piece of me. And I don't know. This was the movie that I was gonna think that like neither of you have seen before. Maybe you have, because of the cast. But number 7 for me is going to be a movie called Backdraft.
Oh yeah,
dude.
Yeah. So
Wow.
have y'all seen it?
Yep.
Have y'all seen that?
Oh yeah, it was a favorite film of mine as a kid. Yeah.
is it with
Yeah.
is it Daniel Baldwin or Stephen Baldwin?
It's Stephen Baldwin, I think.
William Baldwin.
Oh, it's
William
okay.
Baldwin.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Robert De Niro. Obviously Kurt Russell. So
Donald Sutherland. Yeah.
Yep. So, growing up as a kid, I always wanted to be a firefighter. You know, my dad was a volunteer. I grew up around, the fire department, and I remember taking trips to the firehouse and getting on the truck and riding around on the truck, and I was just obsessed with it. That's what I wanted to do, and I remember seeing this movie and just thinking the firefighters were so badass. Like that's when they would go into buildings, the equipment wasn't up to standards, they would just throw on their jacket, they had their jeans and boots on, and never really use their mask like they were supposed to, which is a big no-no. But and they would just go into buildings, and I thought that man, I was so obsessed with it. I would always just throw it on literally every single day. And it's just such a really, really good movie. The acting in it's phenomenal. The cinematography in it's phenomenal, with the smoke, the way they use the smoke and the fire. And they're just the city of Chicago, man. I've wanted to visit Chicago for so many reasons. So many filming locations of my favorite movies, and I would love to go visit the firehouse that this was shot in. But man, this movie right here, it means a lot to me. And I was thinking about moving it up higher on the list, but I'm gonna go with Backdraft number 7, and it makes me happy that you two have seen this movie.
I only got one thing to say to
like,
you, Mike. I only got one thing to say to you. You go,
we go.
Yes, dude.
My man.
Dude,
Kurt Russell, man. Kurt
Mm.
Russell's character is, and I love Kurt Russell growing up. I still love Kurt Russell, but
me too.
Like in that little piece of the film, that little like 20-minute period to where you're like, oh fuck, is his brother like the bad guy? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
They
I
have
know.
that like, man, what a good movie.
Yeah. The name of that movie, when you said it, Mike, that just like flew me back to the 90s. Like Daniel Kaluuya and Get Out, when he just like slips through the chair. Like I was just instantly teleported back. Wow, man, that's a great pick, dude.
That is,
man, I love that movie so much,
man.
Man.
It's like kind of got the same like angst and energy as Twister in a way. Dude, wow. I feel like such a dumbass for not even like that
Dude,
movie was
trust
so
me, I know,
important to me.
Same.
Like, oh man, that's such a good pick. I love that's on the list, man. God bless.
Man. Again, one of my favorites. And I can sit here and talk about it all day long. It's still my favorite firefighter movie of all time. Still holds up to this day. I watched it not too long ago, so had to throw it on the list for sure.
Man,
what's the movie with Walking Phoenix where he's a fireman?
That one is really good too. That one made me cry.
Oh man,
buckets. It's called Ladder 49.
Ladder 49. Yeah. I kind of remember seeing that movie, but my uncle, I think I enjoyed it. It's just funny. My uncle, I remember watching it with, I think my dad and his oldest brother, and my dad's brother is like, he has 2 brothers, but the oldest one is like critical of everything and like ultra critical of everything. and we were watching it, and he was like, "I remember when this movie came out, and it was called Backdraft, and it didn't suck." And I was like,
yeah,
"It's
yeah.
like this is not that bad."
I thought it was good. It's just definitely not on
Yeah.
Backdraft's level.
Oh
but that was
no, not even close. Not even
young
close.
Joaquin Phoenix. Young
Oh yeah,
Joaquin.
oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a
But
tearjerker though, for sure.
Backdraft, dude. God, man, love
90s
it.
is stacked, dude.
It is, man.
90s
It's
is
like
absolutely stacked. So many great
It's
movies.
crazy. And again,
it.
these movies from here on out, man, they're oh man, they
Same with
hold
me,
a
man.
piece.
Yeah, same with me. Like these
Same.
are I'm gonna be talking from my soul from these next movies. Coming
Might shed
in,
a little tear.
might shed a little tear, man.
There you go, dude.
Coming in at
I'm
number
here for that.
7. Coming in at number 7 is a little movie about redemption and fate. It is Halloween H2O.
There you go.
Nice.
I knew that it had to be on there, man.
And I've talked about it ad nauseum. Everyone knows how much I love this movie, how much it means to me for a lot of reasons. It's my I go back and forth with it being my second or third favorite movie in the franchise. Everything about it is so poetic. It's so beautifully written and acted. I think it's Jamie Lee Curtis's best performance. It feels so Halloween to me, and it's got my favorite moment in the entire franchise when she faces her fear and she, tells her son and his girlfriend to go, and she faces it and she walks up and she screams Michael, and it gives me goosebumps every time. And I talked about this when we were on the live, because like that moment is so emotional to me, because you can apply that to anything that you are facing in your life that's given you this trauma, this fear, this adversity. You can relate to it, and like the crescendo that it builds up to, I feel it every single time, and it's so special to me. And it's one of my favorite movies ever, not just favorite 90s movies. I can gush about this for hours. I think it's so underrated. I love it. I love Halloween H2O.
You're gonna make me cry, man.
Dude.
Like Mike, are you sick? Or are you crying, man?
You good, man? You need eye drops? Everything you said, I mean, there's nothing else to be said about it. And you know what? How I know that you just absolutely, like, it means everything to you is you used a word that I know that you're allergic to, and that's the T word that Jamie Lee Curtis loves, trauma.
I did use it, man.
And you used it, but it's legit, man. It is like her trauma in that film, the way she portrays Lori is so accurate to 78, in my opinion. And I think it's top tier Laurie Strode. Like, I love Laurie Strode in 78, but Laurie Strode in H2O is certainly much more interesting and developed.
Yeah.
And I think it's got to be on the list. And we'll save a little bit of time here, because my number 7 is also Halloween H2O.
I love it, dude.
Nice.
I love it so much.
So
Nice.
yeah, it's just
I love it.
It had to be on there, man. That was another tough one too, because I wanted to. Yeah, I knew it had to be on there, and there were a couple horror films that were floating around in my honorable mentions, and that group of 6 that I just couldn't decide on. H2O never left the list, but dude, it's tough. But yeah, I mean, that movie is it was the first Halloween film that I saw in theaters.
Same.
It's just it's very important to my love for that franchise and my love for cinema. So
well said.
Yeah,
Same here. It was.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's a core memory. It's one of the very first horror movies I ever saw, and it really defined a lot about me and why I love these types of movies so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very well said, dude.
It's important to me too. That's why it comes in at number 6 on my list.
Oh, nice, dude.
I love the way that worked out.
That was
I was
great.
I was actually shocked that I had it higher than Kevin. Honestly, I was like, "Oh man, what?"
Dude.
I was a little shocked. But
That's
Yeah,
the
awesome,
90s,
man.
man, it's like that. It's like that. And for every reason that you two just said, I mean, this movie, Bert, same as you, first Halloween movie that I saw in theaters. So that's always going to hold a sentimental value to me. I've mentioned this before, even though it's not my favorite Halloween, it's probably the one that I rewatch the most. I think it's the most rewatchable for me. And it just gives me goosebumps. It's my favorite Laurie Strode. Again, for every reason that y'all said. She's super strong in this movie. I love how she faces her fear. And conquers her fear. This is the end of Michael Myers in my book. So at least with this storyline. So yeah, for every reason that y'all said, Halloween H2O is sitting right outside my top 5, but definitely could not be left off the list.
I love that so much, man. Yeah, Halloween H2O it's just one of those movies that whenever I talk about it, I can feel like my emotions on my sleeves. It's just so special. And like, yeah, it's a slasher movie. It's got Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. I get that. But beneath the surface, it's so much more and special than that. And that's why it's so good.
Well, I guess we can change the title screen, the background, and the title to the episode to just things that don't suck. Halloween H2O.
Yeah, exactly.
Just be a little 10-minute. That's that. I love that it worked out like that, man. That's beautiful. So great. It's beautiful, dude.
All right, so we're at 6.
Number 6.
Switching genres completely. I hope you guys have seen this movie. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's my favorite Ben Stiller movie ever. It is Heavyweights. Dude,
that is a great movie.
It was filmed here in North Carolina, and it's probably the movie. It's one of my most favorite feel-good movies ever. Like Step Brothers and Heavyweights, and another movie that I'm gonna talk about a little bit later are my like top 3 most rewatchable movies, feel-good movies ever. This movie is so quotable. You couldn't make a movie like this today because it's about like a fat camp, and Ben Stiller plays Tony Perkis, who's like this insane health nut who's like very strict and belittling and mean to the kids there. It's written by Judd Apatow. It's got a great supporting cast, and try to watch this movie and not smile, laugh, and have a good time. Like it's just a blast, dude. And the go-kart race at the end with the Apache relay, it's got a feel-good moment at the end. It's so funny. Like Kenan Thompson's in it, and he always, like I say this randomly all the time, where he goes, "Don't put Twinkies on your pizza." It's just I adore this movie.
What's the line? It's like something about it's like lunch is canceled due to lack of hustle. Is that
deal with it? Yeah, lunch has been canceled due to lack of hustle. Yeah, such a quotable movie, man. Yes.
Ben Stiller's really good at that. Like he's kind of the same character in like the first half of like Dodgeball, to where he's just like this like kind of an idiot health nut.
Yeah, very reminiscent really of Dodgeball. Yeah.
It's that movie's great. I can like picture myself as a kid watching it, and like it definitely is one of those to where it oozes 90s, and everything about it is so 90s, and it just makes you happy because it is such a good story, and it's
I've never seen
movie,
it,
dude. Oh really?
Man,
man, my god,
no,
it should be on Disney Plus, but it takes place at, like I said, a summer camp. I love like camp movies. You feel like you're at summer camp. And it's just a blast, dude. Like it's got a lot of the cast from the Mighty Ducks. And they're all great. It's very funny. And heartwarming too.
Yeah, it is. There's so many good one-liners in that movie, and I love, like, that's the reason why I love Adam Sandler movies too in the 90s, is there's so many good one-liners, and there's some classics in that one, man. You need to watch that, Mike, for sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to add that to the list. Might be tonight.
There you go. Well, mine is definitely a departure from Kevin's last one because it's so serious of a film. And it is like just intense from start to finish. But it is Michael Mann's Last Mohicans. It is it's probably like my favorite like epic from the 90s. It's its settings, its story. I love like historical stuff, and it has like a ton of historical references and things that legitimately did happen, um, like woven into the story about these people. And um, Daniel Day-Lewis just absolutely kills it, like he does in every film he's in. And I I think that, like I said, as far as like epic films go, or like journeys, adventure films, it's by far my favorite ever.
Mm-hmm.
And the cinematography is just like unbelievable in it. And the battle scenes, like the fight scenes, are so well choreographed and beautifully shot. Um, just think that it is such a piece of art, and I had to include it in there. And it does mean a lot to me because I just like, it was the first film that I think I watched to where um like I recognized like kind of the human elements of a movie, to where like the characters were felt like more than just like these pieces of a story.
Mm-hmm.
Um and uh and it I think it was probably the first film that like made me emotional in a way. So, um, great film. If you haven't watched it, you gotta check it out. It's one of Michael Mann's best pieces of work, definitely.
It's one of
I have
those
to watch it. I
movies
have not
that,
seen it.
yeah, it's one of the, I haven't seen it either, but I know it's one of those movies that I'm gonna love, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah,
And I
it's
can,
man.
yeah, I gotta watch
I
that.
can tell. I can tell just by in your
I can
voice.
too. I
Like,
can feel it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, it's long, like most of his films, but it's because what you were talking about with Heat earlier, Kevin. It's I definitely understand what you were saying with how it wasn't really like your brand of film. But um Last of the Mohicans has all the elements of that Michael Mann, includes in his films
Mm-hmm.
or in his process. um and it's shot beautifully, and just is so well, it's so precise and well produced, and just like it's, it's busy without feeling busy, if that makes sense. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're not overwhelmed by it, but there's so much going on in the background that, like, if you sit there and like try to pay attention to all the stuff going on, you're like, holy shit, how do they do this? Like, how did they create this world that I'm looking at right now? And it's definitely like warmer in a way. Like it feels a little more um like closed in and full than other Michael Mann films. And I feel like that's like a big element that he used later on, was like the sprawling, like how alone everyone really is. And how kind of minute we are. But
Yeah.
in this film there's none of that. But all the other good elements of his filmmaking is included in it. So I feel like you'll dig it. And yeah, you definitely have to check it out too, Mike. It's Dude, it's I feel like you would,
yeah,
based on like the films you like, I feel like you'll really dig this movie.
yeah. I'll definitely have
Yeah.
to add that to the list, man. Super excited to
Yeah.
check that out. I've been trying to watch movies that I haven't seen before recently, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely have to add that to the list.
Hell yeah, dude. All right, number what
5.
we 5? Yeah.
Number 5.
Oh man.
Uh-oh.
Um, all right, so oh, man. Um, it's number 5 for me is going to be Scream.
Yeah, okay.
It's one of
Yep.
my favorite slashers of all time. Um, And I know me and Kevin talked about this, just talked about Wes Craven, I think, on our last podcast a little bit when we were talking about Nightmare on Elm Street. And I think storytelling, I've always enjoyed John Carpenter a little bit more. But I've always really appreciated Wes Craven and the chances that he would take. And I feel like the chances that he would take in movies would always hit. We talk. You can talk about Nightmare on Elm Street. You can talk about when he came back to do Wes Craven's New Nightmare. That franchise was basically dead in a sense, and he had to do something different to kind of, spark interest. I know some people don't like that movie, but it's one that I enjoy, especially when you just kind of take a step back and look to see where that franchise was. But like with Scream, I mean, especially in a non-social media world without spoilers or anything like that, going into this movie, you're thinking that Drew Barrymore is going to be the star of this film. And he just takes a big swing and kills her, like offs her in that first opening scene. And I think it's one of the best opening scenes in a horror film of all time, just because of that, and just because of the tension that we get of Drew Barrymore talking to this mysterious voice over the phone, and the tension that it creates as far as the chase scene in the yard with, her parents being right there coming, like, as a teenager or as a kid, you're thinking like, oh man, where are my parents? Like, they're my saviors. Where are they at? And to see them in, eyesight of coming in, are they going to be able to save me? And ultimately they don't. And Drew did an absolutely phenomenal job with one of the scenes that I really love in that opening scene is when her mom gets on the phone and you can hear Drew just like gasping for air. And as soon as, the dad gets handed the phone, it cuts off. And yeah, it's just overall movie. We get introduced to my favorite final girl of all time, and that's Nev.
Yes. Yep.
Again, and the killer, I talked about this in one of my previous podcasts about this movie. Is there were times in this movie that I was like, there's no doubt that it's Billy. Like, there's just no doubt. And then, the phone records come back, it's not him. And you're like, okay, well, who did it? And then the way that he acts, you're like, okay, well, he's definitely it. That something must have happened with the phone records. And then something else happens. You're like, okay, there's no way it's Billy, because he gets stabbed when he just, had sex with Nev upstairs. So it can't be him. So you're like, oh my God, who the fuck is this? And then you get another twist at the end coming out, that it's Billy and Stu. And again, I just think it's one of the most perfect films for me personally, for that reason. It just keeps you on the edge of your seat and keeps your mind going back and forth. So number 5 for me is going to be Scream.
Yeah, dude, it's
Scream.
I mean, what else can you say about Scream that hasn't, already been said? It's an absolute pillar in the horror genre. Like you said, I definitely agree with you about Nev Campbell. She's my Scream queen. She's my favorite out of all of them. It's my favorite opening ever. It's the definition of lightning in a bottle. I think Scream is a perfect movie. I want to say more, but I'm gonna hold back a little.
Gotcha.
Yeah, man, that's Scream's got to be on there. If hint. I think what you were saying about Wes Craven, yeah, I love guys that like you can feel like their stylistic approach to filmmaking and writing, and Wes Craven was one of those people, rest in peace, that just he took just huge swings, and even if they're not always swings that I loved, like they were swings that you could tell were Wes Craven. And I personally, I love A New Nightmare. I think it's really rewatchable and fun. It drags through like the last third a little bit, but but as far as like just top tier 90s horror, Scream is at the the precipice of 90s horror, and anyone that would argue otherwise, I'll sit there until I'm blue in the face arguing that they're wrong, because it is such a good movie. And like, dude, I remember watching it for the first time, and like you were saying, Mike, like I just could not believe how well written it was and how difficult it was to figure out what was like who was who was the killer. And when it finally unfolds and you get that climactic scene, it was so satisfying and so much fun, and just like there isn't a better like reveal for a whodunit
So
in
good.
film. Yeah, I mean it is like the top tier. I love that movie.
Scream, man.
Love it.
What a movie. All right. Yeah, I hear it's pretty good.
It's
All right.
pretty all right.
Where we at? 5?
Number
Oh,
5.
number 5.
5 times. Is it 5 times or 9
5,
times? That's 9 times. 9
yeah.
times.
So this movie is Maria's gonna love this. It's the most realistic found footage movie ever. It just feels like it's on another level than all the other found footage movies. It's the Blair Witch Project. This movie is so simple, and I still believe that it happened. Like it like the marketing for it and the way that the movie still holds up, the acting, the story, the descent into madness, like it all feels so real and it's so simple. Like it's just done with good acting and sound design, and that is incredible. And I get goosebumps every time I talk about it. I'm just talking about the sound design and how they pulled that movie off, and how it still kind of stands the test of time, and still terrifies me to this day when I watch it. There's so many scenes that make my eyes water just with the dialogue and some things you hear, and the stories and the lore and the images. Like it's fantastic. It's perfect. I love the ending. Like Burke, I know you talked about how that claustrophobic kind of chaoticness really makes you feel gross, and it's so well done. And you get in the house and there's like the bloody handprints of the children on the walls, and
dude,
and Mike's just dead in the corner, and it ends perfectly. Oh God, the Blair Witch, man. This I go back and forth with it being my favorite horror movie ever, just because of how it makes me feel and what it did. I just think it's perfect.
Yeah, well, and we talked about not, you can't even argue that it is either the or one of the most terrifying films ever made. So, good pick, dude. Good pick.
Thanks,
I love
man.
it. And I also like the word that you used there. I think that's the word of the day. We should start doing word of the day. And the word is lore. I love that word, dude. Lore is such a good word, man. I don't use it enough. I'm going to start like finding reasons to. I'm going to walk into like a Target and be like, so what's the lore of this place?
I think
be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
I think ever since I've been doing podcasts, there hasn't been a movie that has been talked up more than Blair Witch Project between Marie and Kevin. And I'm 100% sure it lives up to the hype. I just cannot watch that movie. I just can't. I tried to watch it after me and Marie's podcast not too long ago, and then just I got nauseous, man, because of the camera shaking and just all over the place. And I was so frustrated. I'm like, damn, you would think after all these years, like that's something I would get over, but it's still just the camera. I just can't do it. It does not work on my stomach.
I'll pick on Marie again a little bit, but her talking about how it's like that's her comfort film that she falls asleep to. It's like the craziest thing to me,
right? Like I picture the scene where they finally hear like the Blair Witch outside the tent. I can just picture Marie like getting all cozy, like,
ooh,
like oh,
that's in the tent. Oh my gosh! I think what episode was it, Mike? That she was talking about that she said that.
Man, I don't know. I get confused with my episodes because I have Kevin and Marie on all the time.
Yeah, I remember I was listening to it and I was like, did she? I like rewound it. I was like, did she just say what I think she said?
I think it was when she talked about Halloween 5, because that's another comfort movie for her.
I think you're right. I think you I think
Yeah.
you're right. Either way, I
think
like as I was listening to it, I rewound it. I listened to it again. I was like, she did say that, and I messaged her and it was like, did you really say that
I remember because
that
you
is
brought
your
that up
comfort
on
movie?
y'all's podcast, right?
Yeah,
On one
yeah,
of
I think
y'all's
so.
yeah.
She's
Yeah.
crazy,
Jeez, man.
crazy.
Great woman, that Marie. Um, all right, number 5. Dude, it feels like it feels like our lists have been so much longer. Like I feel like I've gone through,
Yeah, I
you
know.
know. So number 5, one of my favorite films of all time. It just happens to be a 90s movie, and that is Tombstone.
Ooh.
I adore that movie. There is not a single creative choice, shot, line, or anything in that film that I wished would have been different or been done differently. I think it is probably one of the most perfectly cast films ever made. And I love how like comic book-ish it feels. But at times it's also like very serious and sad, and again, Bill Paxton playing Morgan Earp. I love the way that he portrays that character, and like being the youngest brother, you feel that like that young brother syndrome, to where he kind of feels like he needs to live up to his older brothers, and I love that about his character. I just, dude, that movie to me is so pure and so perfect and well done. It's probably one of my most rewatched films. It's right up there with Halloween and H2O and the others that I've just seen a billion times. But again, Kurt Russell, um, Kurt Russell is Wyatt Earp, like as far as I'm concerned. Like when I think of, like, if someone says something about Wyatt Earp, or like I'm watching something on History Channel or something and they say it, I think, like, I picture Kurt Russell. I don't picture like the actual image of Wyatt Earp. So I had to have it on there, man. It means a ton to me. Again, like I said before, I love historical figures. I love the American West and that era in our history. I think it's one of the most interesting eras in human history. And it just has a special place for me. So had to put it on there. Have you both seen it?
I
You're
gotta
giving
watch it.
Yeah, you're giving me movies that I haven't watched,
Oh
which
man.
actually I'm kind of excited for, though. So I
Mhm.
Oh
appreciate that.
dude, it's Kevin. I feel
And
like you will
you're selling them really
love
good
it,
too.
dude. I feel like you will love that movie, man. I know that you love one-liners, and so like I know that you like that feel, that almost like comic book-ish,
Mhm.
but like it's almost like I guess you could compare it to kind of like realism a little bit, to where it doesn't, it feels like almost like a dream a little bit,
Okay.
but um dude, it's so great. Like it kind of has a couple similar aspects or feeling to something like They Live, in that, like,
Yeah.
it's like this epic kind of like comic book feel to it. But yeah,
Well,
you guess.
any Bill Paxton movie,
Yeah, yeah.
automatically loved. So I know I love
Well, yeah, it's you need to check it out, dude. I can't believe
it.
some of these films that are on this list, man. I
What we got?
love
These are
We
it.
good.
got.
These are good lists, though. These
They
are
are,
good
man.
lists.
They're way, like, not that I thought you guys were gonna have like bad films on your list, but they're like way better than I could have imagined, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Now we're at the Mount Rushmore.
We are
Yeah.
number 4, Quattro.
So I talked about at the beginning of the episode how, like, my uncle got me into horror movies and to sports. So I have to go with the sports movie here that still hits the heart. It's the number one sport for me growing up as a kid, baseball. I have to go with the Sandlot.
Oh yeah,
This is
dude.
Man, this
Yeah.
is like
Yes.
that theme song to the Sandlot still gives me like goosebumps and takes me back to a time where I remember I used to watch this movie and I would go outside and I would play baseball with my friends at the park. I lived right around the corner from a park, so we would really literally do the same thing. We weren't out there all day like they were, but like, man, it just brings back so much nostalgia for me. I just think it's such a great movie. It really captures my childhood, and just kind of just going out there and doing stuff that we love, man. And I was playing sports, getting into trouble and being outside more than anything. I talked to Kevin about this when we were talking on our last podcast. Like, it just anything involving like kids, it's gonna remind me like of my childhood, and that reminds me of it. And I just love the pickle that they get in and how they get out of it, and just the way that story is told. It's such an easy watch.
Yeah.
And then again, I go back to the theme song. Every time I hear that theme song, the dun dun, it just gives me goosebumps, man.
It is a great score.
It's one of my favorite sports movies of all time. So I have to go.
I love that movie so much.
It is,
I love
it's a great film. They capture something that, and they do it in a way that's so authentic, is that feeling of like these like larger than life figures to kids, like athletes and movie stars and comic book characters and whatever stuff like that. They do it in a way that is so authentic and feels really like captures how kids feel about people like that. And I love that about that movie. And it does like it reflected like a huge part of my childhood too, because I also grew up playing baseball. And and Mike, don't you might just log off right now when I'm going to say this, but I grew up as a Dodgers fan, so
that's fine.
He said that's fine.
Okay.
Fuck you, dude.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, I grew up as a Dodgers fan. I was a big Mike Piazza guy, and the Dodgers connection at the end of the film, it meant a lot to me, and it like I always just thought how cool, like what a cool way to like tie everything together. And I love
like
the
that
ending
connection
of that movie.
at the end. Yeah. It's funny because when he gives them the thumbs, when they give each other the thumbs up, and he looks up and he sees that picture of them in the stand lot. I have that picture hung up.
Oh, do you? That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool, so dude. It's just one of my favorites of all time. There was no way that I couldn't put that on the list. It's such a good movie. So that's not my number 4.
For sure.
Baseball was one of my first loves as well. I played shortstop, and I grew up being a big Braves fan. I remember like Andrew Jones, Chipper Jones, Marcus Giles, out of the road. Like, I watched that with my pawpaw. And The Sandlot, man, it just captures that coming of age magic where like the ensemble of kids, like they just feel really organic, and they really do feel like best friends. And like, you don't really get movies like that anymore. Like that movie has such charm and magic in it. I always wanted a pair of PF Flyers. I still do.
PF Flyers.
I wanted those. I wanted those so I could be like the fastest. I wanted to be Benny the Jet. And that with James Earl Jones and that dog, like it's just such a great movie.
It is, man. It's perfect. I wanted PF Flyers so bad. I remember we went to some shoe store. Like, I want to say like not Payless. What was the other one called?
Shoe Carnival.
Yeah, Shoe Carnival, and they had them, and it was around this time of year, and like the year before, I had LA Gears, the ones that light up, and I fucked them up. I got in trouble. I fucked them up. I made this like gasoline mixture in our shed, and like it's a long story, but my mom had bought me those, and then I saw Sandlot. I wanted some PF Flyers, and they didn't have. At first, my mom was like, last time I remember what you did to those other shoes, but they didn't have PF Flyers in my size, and I was so bummed, dude. I wanted them so bad. Wanted my PF Flyers, my Dodgers cap, but no. It's out of luck, man. Out of luck. That's a great pick, man. I love that was on your list. Really, I want to watch that movie right now.
Yeah, I'm not, man. Burke and I are not like big summer guys. Like, honestly, summer is my least favorite season, but The Sandlot feels so summery, like the 4th of July. Like, I actually enjoy like the warm embrace of summer and like the 4th of July feels that it gives you. I love that pick,
Yeah.
dude.
That is a great pick, man. Man, there was something else I was going to say about it, and it's just like, I mean, everything that you all have said about it is enough. But yeah, it's just one of those films that like it doesn't matter how many times you've seen it, it still has that effect that it has the first time you saw it, and I love that. I love that about it, man. Yeah, the Braves. I forgot that you were a Braves guy growing up, Kevin.
Yeah, big Braves,
I remember
man.
so obviously like the Dodgers and Braves like had that weird rivalry, especially with Piazza and Karros and those guys. But like I always loved like the triple threat, Glavine, gee, why can't I think of the other? Tom Glavine,
John Smoltz,
and Greg Maddux.
Greg Maddux.
Yeah. Triple threat. Yep.
John Smoltz, man. Oh, dude.
Like,
I'm going back right now, man. Good times.
Yeah, like growing up a huge sports fan, Philadelphia don't win a lot of championships. But the first championship I was ever able to see was the Phillies when they won in 07 with Jimmy Rollins, Ryan Howard, Chase Utley. Oh man,
Shane Victorino. Was Shane Victorino there?
Shane Victorino. Yeah. Jason
he was.
Worth.
I mean, I remember them coming to. So when I briefly was out in LA, I would go to Dodgers games all the time, and the Phillies. When the Phillies came to town, it was like a zoo at Dodger Stadium, dude. Like there's just that weird. There's always been that weird rivalry, but it was so much fun, dude. And I always I always had like a healthy respect for those guys, and Shane Victorino got like the gamut, dude. Like the fans hated him. Dodgers fans hated that guy, and I liked that about him though. I liked the way that he took it, and I always thought that was cool. But yeah, what a good memory, man. Gosh. I love how films do that, like how it just opens up the gates to all these other memories,
all kinds of conversations too.
Yeah, I'm glad that you had the Sandlot in there, man.
Me too.
A lot of good memories.
So before I move on to my number 4, I have a question for you guys. What is the soup du jour?
It's the soup of the day.
That sounds good. I'll have that. My number 4 is Dumb and Dumber.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I'll have
that. This is my favorite comedy ever made. This is my favorite feel-good movie of all time. It's my favorite Jim Carrey movie. There's nothing like it, man. There's nothing like it. I love road trip movies. It's so quotable, man. It's so funny. And I saw a clip
it's a cardigan, but thanks for noticing.
Killer Booth. I saw a clip on a podcast that Nick Swardson was on, and he said, and I agree with this wholeheartedly, the reason why this movie works so well is, it's slapsticky, it's funny, great performances. Jim Carrey is like at the top of his game. But the scene whenever when Lloyd Christmas is talking to Harry about going on this adventure, and he has this really like heartfelt moment with Harry where he's talking about, I'm sick of Harry. I'm sick and tired of eking my way through life. I'm sick and tired of being a nobody. And it's so sincere. And you realize that these guys, while they're idiots, they're human beings, and you can you can relate to what he's saying. And so from the get-go, they won your heart over, and you're rooting for these guys. And so like that's like the heart of the movie right there, and it hooks you. And then you're like, well, let's go find Mary. Let's give her the Samsonite briefcase, and let's make this happen. And it's a great adventure movie. It's so funny. It's ridiculous. It's so credible.
Samsonite.
So you're telling me
I was way off.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
There's again, one-liners.
We can sit here for the next 20 minutes quoting this movie.
So you're telling me I haven't
so good. So good.
I remember I saw that with my dad, and we still quote it like to this day. I don't even know the last time my dad's seen that movie, but we still quote it. It is
some
definitely
salt over your right shoulder.
Dude, I love the
burger.
I love the cowboy hat. Like have you seen the shirt that is that's Lloyd Christmas with the cowboy hat on that says Garth Brooks?
No.
Oh my god, dude!
Oh man,
Some
I kind of need that.
some shirt, dude. I went to go buy it. I saw it. It was like on an ad on Instagram. This is years ago. It was like right when Instagram started doing ads, and I saw it. I clicked on it. Like, oh, I've got to buy this shirt, and it was sold out. Man, I was so bummed.
Dang.
They haven't made it again, and I've looked for it like on the secondary market, like on eBay. Can't find one, dude. I'll send it to both of you though.
Yeah.
It's absolutely hilarious.
Need that.
God, dude, what a great I just
pick.
love
That's amazing.
It's so funny,
That's
man.
such a good pick.
It's so funny. It was actually one of the movies. Well, initially, I had Event Horizon playing, but it was one of the movies that I thought about having in the background. So it's great that it's on your list.
Yeah, it has to be, man. Favorite comedy ever. So good. So good.
Classic. All right, man. Number 4. Definitely not a comedy. Although some people think a segment, or not a segment, a facet of this movie is pretty funny, but it is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Oh shit.
Good pick.
Again, just like Tombstone, man, I think that like every single element of this film is so great. And even the cheese of Keanu Reeves' English accent, which a lot of people gave him a lot of shit for, there's something about it that I like. It's just so like warm and fuzzy feeling. And it is like the little piece of it that makes the movie not so dark that it's almost too much. It's almost like overwhelming. So you have that little piece to where you have Keanu Reeves' goofy English accent that kind of like lets you breathe a little bit. And I just think that every piece of this movie is just woven perfectly together. And Gary Oldman, dude, like what could you even say about, like, there's nothing that I could say bad about that. I mean, he is just such a great actor and unbelievable in that role. Just, I mean, like, and I love the fact that he talks about in an interview that the reason why that he was sold on that role because he gets to say the line that he's crossed oceans of time to find Mina. And I love that because that the concept of time and how important that is, and fate. I love movies that have to do with those concepts. Like that's one reason I love Halloween, is because of all the elements of fate. And it's such an important element in that movie that I just had to put it on the list. I love that movie. It was
it's a good movie.
So scary to me when I was a kid. Like that opening, the scene where you get introduced to Dracula, and the work with the shadows, Francis Ford Coppola. I mean, the guy was, I mean, it is a genius, like in terms of cinema. And like his version of Dracula is just so cool and so scary and unnerving. And I love all of the that like Dracula isn't just this one thing. He's like this ambiguous creature that like can be a wolf or
big old bat creature.
Oh yeah, a werewolf, a bat creature, like the air, the elements, nature. Like it's just so scary to me. And I love the cheese in it too, man. I just think it's so cool. I love the old, like the old and the new Dracula, like the young Dracula and the old. Like it's just everything about it's so cool, man. There's some great lines in it too. Anthony Hopkins again. His Van Helsing is my favorite Van Helsing ever. I love how he's like also slightly mad, you know, that he's kind of lost his wits too. And it's just great, man. Love that movie.
That movie is spicy, man. If you catch my drift, that movie is spicy.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it on your list, though.
Yeah,
on somebody's list for sure.
You know, I figured it probably be the only one with it on there, but it just is like you said, Mike. You put it so well. Like these movies are like pieces of me and are so important to like my love uh for film and why it's so important to me. So
Absolutely. I think it's Gary Oldman's best performance. I really like him in Leon the Professional, but he will just always be Dracula to me.
yeah,
That movie, yeah, that's a great pick, man. I
Yeah,
haven't watched it in a while, but
thanks, dude.
it is good. That's a good pick.
All right, number
man.
3.
Oh
All
shit.
right,
Yeah,
Yeah,
number 3.
ordering these next two were really hard for me. Um, I'm still debating on it. But man, all right, number 3, I'm gonna go with and this could be looked at different ways, but for me, it's looked at as a movie, and that's Stephen King's It.
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I I
nice.
know it came out as a miniseries, but when I saw it, it was on VHS tapes. So to
Mhm.
me, it will always be a movie. It's the scariest movie I've ever seen, and a lot of that had to do with the timing of when I saw this movie, which was a little kid. I remember, my mom had this entertainment center, and there were like cabinets on the side of the entertainment center, and you could open up each cabinet, and she would have her movies in there. And I always remembered seeing it in there, and I was told never to watch that. And I was like, why not? And she was like, because it would scare the hell out of you. I was like, okay, whatever, whatever. And I remember I was going to my uncle's one night, and he was the one that would always let me watch the horror movies. I remember grabbing that movie and taking it over to my uncle's and was like, hey, I want to watch this. And it was a blessing and a big mistake because it scared the living
Yeah.
shit out of me from the very beginning. I've talked at many lengths about this movie. Um, I think that Tim Curry does a phenomenal job as Pennywise in this movie. I think the simplicity of the clown look in this movie
Mm-hmm.
is what's really terrifying about it. Obviously, Pennywise as a character has many layers to him, so he's not sim- symbolic, and you know what I mean, or his character isn't simple.
Yeah,
But
it's almost like how I was describing how Dracula is. It's very similar. Like he's not just one.
yeah,
He's like a creature. He's a creature. He's not like this.
yeah,
He's this thing, and
Yeah.
that's what makes it so
hmm
scary.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And
totally
then the
agree.
fact that he came after kids, obviously,
Hmm.
when I saw it, it just freaked me out. And one of my favorite scenes is, it's not a horror scene at all or a scary scene at all. It's when they're all down at the barracks playing and building the dam at the
You, you
in
got
the
that
creek.
song going
And
on?
yeah, they
Hmm.
got
Yeah.
the song going on. It's just
Say
such a
it's
feel
all
good
right.
moment.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Such dude, that
it's not.
movie,
It's not all
that
right.
that yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
moment,
true.
that moment is so special, man. Every time I watch that scene, man, I am flooded with emotion. Like
Mhm.
that song,
Yeah.
man, it's great.
S- Same
That's a good
here.
pick,
So
man.
yeah, I have to go with Stephen King's at number 3 for sure.
Take it. Yep,
Fantastic pick.
that's
I'm so glad
good
it's on the
choice,
list.
man.
Absolutely. Yeah, Tim Curry, man, that's a performance for the ages. Whenever I think of Tim Curry,
Yeah.
I think of Pennywise. And like you said, like his Pennywise, it's so simplistic. And I love what Brandon said whenever you interviewed him. The scene that's so perfect that lets you know what type of monster this is the very beginning whenever the little girl's outside and a storm's
Oh
coming in
man.
and you got the clothes blowing on the clothesline and you see Tim Curry, he's just like, hi, he's like all kind of like squeaky and nice, and but there's something brewing underneath the surface, and then like the sheets kind of flutter in the wind, and then you catch that sinister kind of like frown when he's staring at her like he's about to
Yeah.
feast. And that, to me, that even that little moment is is so much scarier than anything in the new it adaptations. I do enjoy the first one, but Tommy Lee Wallace and Tim Curry really did something special in that
Hmm.
miniseries.
They
Truly
really did.
special.
It
Yeah,
was
I
such a
love
good
Tommy
movie.
Lee
So
Wallace is
phenomenal.
great. Yeah,
Yep.
Tommy Lee
Oh yeah.
Wallace is. I
Absolutely.
love. I mean, he is the like, and it not to be. I don't know why people like take this as like a shot at him, but he is the the sequel master too. And I mean, he really is. Like, there's so many great sequels that he's done. But love that that's on your list, man. Love
I got to meet him at Son of Monster.
That's right. That's right, man.
It was, and he was the one I was looking forward to the most. And I just thanked him. I thanked him so much for his art and his career, and specifically it, because that movie means so much to me. And he was just very pleasant and very appreciative. Great director, underrated director.
Oh yeah, big time. Everyone says he's just like a rad dude too. Like, he's just an old rad dude.
He's just chill. He's just chill.
Yeah, I love how much he embraces, like, and how proud he is of his work. I think that's really cool. I mean, the guy created the Myers mask. Like, how much cooler could you possibly be? You know,
right?
That's a good one, man. I dig that one. Is that old Riv?
Yeah, sorry.
My guy. He's looking for some more cake. That's what he's doing.
Man, he is, good birthday. Had a great birthday.
Those pictures, man. Those pictures are great. Please insert one of those photos. Yeah.
That was so much fun,
dude.
man.
I love those pictures. The one where he's like,
so good, I love the one where it looks like the cake like touched his soul, where he's just smiling and his shoulders are all shrugged up. I appreciate it, man.
Can't believe his luck, man. Went from being a vagabond pup to living the good life, man.
Whoever would have thought, man.
Living the good life,
me.
dude.
But here we are.
I mean, he got to explore Pasadena. He got to
Halloween locations. He pooped.
Yeah,
he pooped on the yard of the Doyle house. He pooped right there.
Nice.
Basically, he needs to be credited.
Yeah,
you need to update IMDb with Riv Dog.
I do, man. Good pup.
Oh,
all right,
man.
So we're at three.
Number three. So yeah.
Oh,
so
God.
We've already talked about it, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. But my number 3 is Scream.
That's what's up.
Yes, had to be number 3 for me. Well, I mean, we've already talked enough about it, but it's again one of those movies that will always be so incredibly important to me in my love of horror. And I think that like what Mike was saying with the opening, it is my 2 favorite openings in any horror film ever are Scream and The Town That Dreaded Sundown. I think they are, and they have like very weird similarities. They're like very different, but there's a few aspects that they feel like the brutality in it is there in both films, and I love that. Like it goes from 0 to 100 so fast, and I love that about both those films. But Scream, I mean, it's the original, man. It's like the epitome of 90s horror, and I love it.
So good.
It's so special, man. I agree. I definitely agree.
Yeah. Just so everyone knows, the sounds you were hearing in my house were not paranormal. That was an invited guest entering in my house. So if you heard a door slam, that wasn't the spirits this time.
For now,
glad to know they're invited.
For now, yeah. yeah. If it was an uninvited, you might hear some other noises.
Oh God.
You know.
Okay, here we go. Number
3. Number
three.
Number 3.
So you said that Scream was your number 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my number 3, and then we go to 2.
Oh, I thought you did. Oh, my bad, dude.
No, you're good.
Did I skip you?
You're good.
Yeah, you're sorry, Kevin. Your opinions don't matter, dude. We're just gonna skip you from now.
I'm just gonna bounce.
See you, dude. Sorry, dude. I got so carried away with Scream, man. The spirit of Wes Craven must have,
Oh yeah, definitely.
Gotten in me.
I get it.
All right, man. Sorry, dude.
It's okay. All right, here we go. So these 3.
Sorry.
these 3. Any of them could have been my number 1, honestly. Number 3 is a movie that you and I, Berg, both adore. To me, it's the best ensemble in all of cinema. It is Twister. Twister's at number 3.
Love it.
This movie, I don't even know like how to really articulate how this movie makes me feel. Like I get swept up in pun intended, I get swept up in the music and Bill Paxton's performance, and like, dude, he just feels so real and wholesome and special and badass. And I like you talked about wanting to be a storm chaser, like Burke and I did too. Like I remember getting like a little red Dodge Ram truck after seeing this movie, and I wanted that truck, and I would just drive
Nice,
it around
yeah.
outside. I wanted to be a storm chaser. I was obsessed with tornadoes, and this cast, man, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Helen Hunt, even what's his name from Ferris Bueller, the guy that plays Cameron. He plays Rabbit in this. Rabbit is good. Rabbit is wise.
Rabbit is good, Rabbit is wise.
It's so quotable. Carrie Elwes is Jonas, son of a bitch. You got oh, what's her name? I'll be okay. Jamie Gertz.
Jamie Gertz, yeah.
Like, dude, this movie's beautiful. It's so powerful and rewatchable. It's one of my mom's favorite movies. It might be her favorite movie, so it reminds me a lot of my mom. And it's just great, dude. I've always wanted to get one of those little Dorothy aluminum cans for like a Christmas props. Ornament. Yeah, I've always wanted to get one of those. And this movie is just special, man. I love it.
Where was that filmed at?
It was on location. It was in Oklahoma. So there's a few shots that were in Canada, but most of it was actually filmed in Oklahoma.
Because I know they got one of the original. I know they got one of the original Dorothy machines in one of the shops down there.
They do. Yeah. There's a museum. Yeah, there's a museum in the town that they used for the film, and semi recently, within the last like 4 or 5 months, Kevin and I were talking one night. We talk at nauseum about severe weather and Twister all the time. Like it gets brought up like consistently, probably monthly. Going green. But I decided to try to figure out where the cars were, and I spent a couple hours trying to figure it out. And I actually found where several of the cars from the team are, and like how they came to be where they are now. And a lot of those cars, like the barn burner, is at a car museum. Jonas's truck, or one of the ones, the one that doesn't get destroyed, is at a car museum. Joe's pickup truck, the yellow pickup truck, they had several of them, but the one that was used for most of the shots that didn't get destroyed was actually stolen and then recovered, and a guy bought it off of a lot. And he brings it to one of them's in a museum, but he brings that one to the little festival they have for Twister every year. So
nice.
Nice. He brought it to. There's some really cool photos from the anniversary of the film where that car is there. But dude, I mean, what you guys said, just echo that. Like, wanting to be a storm chaser because of that movie is a theme that I feel like a lot of kids in the 90s shared, and which means that it was like so well done and so impactful to so many people. And I think that's like, I firmly believe that like stuff like that does carry its own energy. And if there's a movie that has an energy like that, it is Twister.
Definitely.
I love that movie.
I listen to Human Beings by Van Halen all the time.
Oh,
and
I
just feel like I'm a storm chaser. That one scene I really want to talk about that is so beautiful, and that is like one of the top, like most cinematic scenes, and it's so simple, but it's the shot of Bill Paxton when he goes outside the diner, or it's the auto shop, and he gets that he scoops up the dirt and he just lets it blow through the wind. It's just a shot of him outside, like right by the highway.
The score is amazing, right, dude?
It's the score, the sky, the frame. It's just like magical, man. It's just so cinematic. And then here comes Philip Seymour Hoffman, and going greenish. Go get the others. You got it, boss. And they pack up and they hit like it's that moment. It's just great, dude. Love it.
It is, and the exchange. I love the balance, like in the pacing between like the exchange that you're having in dialogue between Joe and um, why can't I think of her name again? Jamie Gertz. I just love that. Like it all feels so authentic, and it
Mm-hmm.
feels like you're watching. Like, it feels like you're there watching this unfold, and it's
Yeah.
that's probably we've talked about this, Kevin. It's probably one of my favorite shots ever in a
Yeah,
film. Is
mine
that
too.
shot? Everything about it's just perfect,
Yeah.
and man, it always bums me out. Like, as much as I love it, uh, Bill Paxton passing away and like not having that guy in films
Mm-hmm.
anymore is like such a
Yeah.
huge loss. Such a huge
Huge.
loss for for filmmaking
Yeah.
and really for planet Earth, because the guy just seemed like he was
The best of the best.
such a great guy. And
Mm-hmm.
I know you posted. Oh, I don't know if you shared that, Kevin.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, getting to
Yeah.
visit his gravesite is that
Yeah.
had to be crazy emotional, dude.
Yeah. I just sent it to you because I knew that, we both love Bill Paxton and Twister, and I want to be very respectful, but I did go
Hmm.
visit his grave when I was in LA and shed a couple tears, man, and just thanked him. And it was cool how I kind of found it. But that was a special moment because, like you said, he was just so wholesome and
Yeah,
just best of the best, man. So rest in peace.
yeah, and he did it in a way that was really cool and respectful, and appreciated you sharing it with me too. But
Hmm.
I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Glad that you got to do that while you were there, for sure, man.
Number two.
Number two.
Number two.
Um, number 2 for me is, I think, the best animated film ever, and that's Toy Story.
Yes. There it is.
Okay.
Um, there was no way that I could leave this off the list. For me, it's just, you want to talk about nostalgia, you want to talk about my childhood. I mean, this is just the best, man. Like,
Hmm.
I can't stop smiling talking about it, because this was the movie as a kid that I watched going to sleep every single night. I
Hmm.
had my uh, Woody doll in bed next to me watching this movie go to sleep. This movie
Hmm.
means a lot to me. This movie still stands up. Um, I enjoy Toy Story 2 just as much. But yeah, this first Toy Story, it's so well done. Tom Hanks, Tim Allen. I mean, what
Yeah.
better voice actors? Like, they just work so well together, and it's just so well done. And then the story with just the story in itself with Sid, blowing him up and killing him, and
Okay.
trying to survive that was
Yeah.
just so well done. So yeah, I have to go with Toy Story number 2, man. It just means so much to me, and it's, I think, in my opinion, the best animated film of all time. It's definitely my favorite, hands down.
I agree. I
Yeah,
definitely
I
agree.
agree.
I remember seeing that as a kid at the theaters, and I'll never forget the scene where they light the rocket, and Woody goes, "We just lit a rocket. Rockets explode," and they shoot off,
Yeah.
and you get that face of Woody where he's like going through the wind. And I'll never forget my dad like high pitched laughing, like the whole theater could hear him. I'll never forget that. Toy Story is so rewatchable. It's really well written. The dialogue's hilarious. Like, it's so funny.
Really
Um,
funny, and the
it's
comedy still works to this day.
it
Hmm.
does, man. I love Toy Story. It's a
I'm
great thing.
admittedly not a lover of animated stuff, but as far as that stuff goes, like Toy Story is the only one that I've always enjoyed, and it brings like some elements to the table that really any other animated film didn't bring to the table, and some of it is like the way the humor is, and like the delivery of some stuff, and I've always loved like the scene with the little picker machine, like the
The
alien, like
claw.
yeah,
The claw.
the claw. Dude, it's so good, man. I love that, and I love the feel of that scene, and
Yeah.
it's always memorable to me too, because I grew up with this kid named Seth, that looked like Sid.
Sid,
Mhm.
yeah.
And yeah, so and Seth was like such a if you just randomly come across my podcast somehow now, someone who I haven't seen in 25 years, you were such a shithead that like just so you know, you were exactly like that character in Toy Story. But um yeah, that's a great pick, man. I'm glad that it's on there. Kevin initially messaged me trying to get like criteria of like what we could
Yeah.
or should include. And at first, for some reason, I don't know why I thought this, but I thought that like he meant like anime. And because I know the 90s was like a huge time for anime films too. And then he was like, no, I mean like more along the lines of like Toy Story. And I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, I had to go Toy Story, man. It's
I
still one
dig
of
it.
my favorite movies to watch still to this day. I love
Absolutely.
it so
Yep.
much, and it meant
Yeah.
so much to me growing up as a kid.
I always thought my toys, well, that Toy Story and Indian in the Cupboard, always
Mhm.
I felt
Oh,
like my
Indian
toys.
in the
I
Cupboard.
forgot about
Yes.
that
Yeah,
movie, man.
I
Gosh,
Do
always
y'all
thought my I always thought my toys were gonna come to life, and that was a big reason why, like, I probably have so much shit. Is like I felt bad giving my toys away because of
Mhm.
Toy
Yeah,
Story. Like you know,
same. Do y'all
and
remember Small Soldiers?
of
Oh
course,
yeah, of course, man. Yeah,
Gorgonites.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Gorgonites. Yeah,
Organites.
yeah.
Yeah.
Man, there's one that I'd be surprised if it was on your also list, but I'm gonna have my honorable mentions, but I'm gonna have one more just to mention that I don't think either one of you have thought about, and
Mm.
it's crazy because it is like it's epic 90s movie. But yeah, well, I'll mention it. Where we at? Number 2.
Number 2,
Yeah.
Kevin.
Number 2.
Let's hear it, dude.
um, this was really tough, and I know I just said like these top 3 all of them could be one, but
Yeah.
really these top 2 I went back and forth for a while. Number 2, man. So I caught this on TV when I was maybe, gosh, man, I was young. It's probably the second horror movie I ever saw. It's Stephen King's It from 1990.
hmm
This movie, I
Love it.
love, I love
I
Mike.
knew
Mike,
it was
yeah,
gonna be. I knew it was gonna be 1 or 2 for you because we've
yeah.
talked about it so much. Yeah.
I just think Tommy Lee Wallace really, really created something special. I think it's casted perfectly, like beautifully. Even the adult losers look a lot like,
hmm
the kid losers.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
that kind of going back to Halloween H2O, why that one hits me a certain way is because they're facing something. And that scene with Jonathan Brandis when they're at the Barrens and he's talking to Pennywise. He's like, "You killed my brother Georgie, you bastard. Let's now." And he's crying. Dude, that scene, man, is so powerful. And because he's like, "I'm
Yeah.
gonna kill it. I swear to God, I'm gonna kill it." Like, oh, you can just feel that in your soul. And I just think it's casted and acted perfectly. I think the first half is like flawless. I think everything
Flawless.
is beautiful. I mean, I think it's just the second half is meant to kind of fall apart, just how the story kind of unfolds. It gets a little bloated, but you can just relate to the kids. Like you can feel their grief and their pain and their abandonment, but you can also feel their sincerity and their love for each other. And like I said, I love coming of age movies. I love being able to relate to kids that I could see myself being in their shoes. And so with all that working for it, I think the cinematography is great, the writing's great, directing's great, but then you got Tim Curry who's just larger than life in it. Like I'll never forget seeing his face in the sewer when the teeth come out and the eyes and he's going
Yeah.
after Joy. I would never forget that, how that made me feel. And like it scared me to take showers to get anywhere towards a storm drain. Like I'd always thought
Yeah.
it was going to come
Yeah.
up and get me. I believed that as a kid. And so it is a special one. And I'm glad that Mike, that you love it. And a lot of people really do appreciate and love it. I know the newer ones, are really well made. I really like Andy Muschietti and Barbara Muschietti. I think they're two great people. But this movie, man, is just different. It's beautiful.
Yes,
it's my number 2.
I like it, man. It's Tommy Lee Wallace has a way that he can take and I think it's why he's so good at sequels too, but he can take like these very simple concepts and these simple stories and develop them more, I think, than like even the writers intended them to be. And he's just really good at it, man. He's really good at storytelling films, and it's why I love Halloween 3 too. So I think everything you've said about that is like spot on, and I don't think you can be like an 80s or 90s kid and not remember seeing Stephen King's It for the first time. I just don't think it's possible, man.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that it was on your all's list for sure, man, for sure.
Also, I think I mentioned this to Mike. I think the score of this movie is incredible. I think it is so underrated. Cool. Like whenever they're in the sewers and that bomb, 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 it's so heavy and it's coming to get you. And then you have the clown score with the like like it's it's oozing.
It's so creepy.
Fear. It's oozing with fear. It's so creepy. I love that score. I think it's great.
I'm glad, Mike, that you talked about how simple Pennywise is. I love that. The reason why I don't love the new films is because they're overdone. There's too much to them that I have a hard time like really being like immersed in it. And I love how simple Pennywise is. Like Pennywise doesn't need to be this like super detailed, complex thing because he is this detailed, complex thing as a character. And I love the way that Tim Curry looks and the way that his Pennywise I mean it's again, he is Pennywise, you know, just like how Gary Oldman is Dracula, he's Pennywise. And they are just terrifying figures in the dark, man. And I love it, dude. And absolutely love it.
And all the forms that it takes in 1990 are like they're tangible. And Bart Mixon's like special effects makeup, like with Mrs. Marsh and the Mummy, like it's terrifying. It's nightmare inducing, and that's what you think about when you're a kid and you're trying to go to sleep at night. Like that's what separates it for me. I'm just not a CGI monster guy. You can spot that a mile away. It's everywhere these days, and I wish they did more monster creations like they did back when back in the day.
Yeah, I also liked what's his name? He passed away. John Ritter.
Yeah,
John Ritter was solid too. Another just seemed like a solid guy, but man, I can't believe we're getting down to the real nitty gritty. So my number 2, we've already talked a lot about it, but it is one of my most beloved films ever, and that is Twister.
Yes.
I had a really hard time choosing between 1 and 2, but I just love that movie. And like I said, we've already said everything that we can say right now. We could talk about it all day as far as I'm concerned, but Twister is my number 2.
It's the extreme. It's the extreme.
Extreme.
Love it, man.
All right, we need some super intense music for number 1.
All right, here we go.
Mike Bish with the number 1 pick.
What's it gonna be?
And here comes the commissioner. With the first pick.
One of my favorite movies of all time. So rewatchable for me. It's gonna be Home Alone.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And we get the Christmas element too.
That's nice.
This was no competition for me. It just wasn't. I was very most confident in putting this at number 1. I just love everything about this. And I went back and forth. I'll cheat a little bit here. Like I love the first two so much. Like I want to combine them at number one, but if that's not allowed, I have no problem bumping number 10 and going 1-2. That's how much I love these films.
Yeah,
I
I
think
get
I
'em.
lean a little. I think I lean a little bit, a tad. I'm talking about like half a hair towards 2, only because of the New York element. In Christmas in New York, you get that whole type of vibe. I've been to Christmas in New York a couple times. It's just, despite how crowded it is, it's just, man, if you're a Christmas person, you have to experience it once in your life. It's just so amazing. But um I just love Home Alone. I remember watching it as a kid, and just always thinking like, man, that could be me. Like I can definitely take down the wet bandits or the sticky bandits, whatever they're going by this time of year. Um, I just loved everything about it. I think the score by John Williams, which in my opinion is one of the best, if not the best,
Absolutely.
is so phenomenal in this movie. That this original theme in Home Alone is my favorite Christmas like type of tune, song, however you want to label it. It's my favorite. I just like the whole. I don't know. It's just such a feel good movie to me, and it feels like home to me. Christmas is a big horror guy as I am. Christmas has always been number one for me. And I'm not into like all the presents and stuff. I just like the lights, the feel, the smells. I like
Pop
the
culture,
music.
The spirit of Christmas.
Yeah, like the spirit of Christmas is the best way to put it. It's just man, it just puts me in the feels in all the positive ways. And I watched this movie ever since I could remember. This was the movie that I watched every Christmas Eve and every Christmas morning. I know everybody loves A Christmas Story, which is a really good movie, and that's usually their go-to on Christmas Day all day long. But for me, it's Home Alone. Always will be Home Alone. And ever since I've moved out of my parents' house, like 8-9 years ago now, I've always, ever since I've been doing Christmas on my own, always get up in the morning, eat breakfast, and put on Home Alone and let my dog open up his stocking. And yeah, so it's been a tradition of mine to watch this movie every year, and it's just number one for me, man. Number one, Home Alone.
I love it, dude.
Great number one.
You know, it's funny, like I might get shit for this, but my favorite part of that movie, like my favorite like one element or shot or line from that movie is the picture of Buzz with his girlfriend and Kevin says woof. Dude, I love I love that, man. It's so good.
Buzz, your girlfriend, woof.
Woof. My dad and I still say that. Like it's just so good, man.
It's probably Chicago's probably number one on my list as far as filming locations, just to see that house. Like, I would love to go and visit for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I wonder, dude, that house is like got to be worth a ton of money. Just, I mean, it's a big house to begin with, but just with that like, you know, provenance or whatever. That's so cool. Yeah. I love it, dude.
Man, dude, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, man.
Oh, dude.
What a duo, dude.
Killer duo.
Dude,
Killer duo.
They're so good.
You know,
they're so good.
Did you know that the actor originally supposed to play Marv was Daniel Roebuck?
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
That's an interesting little fact.
That is interesting. Yeah.
But that's so cool.
I love Home Alone so much, dude. Like, I think I'd lean a little bit more towards the first one because it feels warmer. And it does. Reminds me. It reminds me of pizza. Like, I just want to eat pizza.
Yes.
I feel nice.
Yeah. It does make me think of junk food. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Either that or like a TV dinner, like Kevin. You know. Yes. Yeah. It makes me
mac and cheese or like a big old ice cream.
Yeah.
And out of both of those movies, what I feel bad about the most is Kevin did not get to enjoy that mac and cheese.
I know.
Dude.
He was ready to go in on it too.
He was ready. He went shopping, dude. Like, man, I always wanted to. You know, it's funny. I imagined, like, as I got a little bit older, my mom would let me. We had a Winn-Dixie. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, and we had this like little Winn-Dixie, and I always like imagined myself when she would let me go wander around and shop by myself a little bit while she was in the store. And I always like pictured when it was cold out that I was like Kevin McAllister and I was like shopping by myself for stuff and
Get you a
like
toothbrush.
Yeah. It's
I
funny,
think
man.
I think one of my biggest regrets, I think it was last year. I think it was last year for one day, one night, they had that house on Airbnb.
Oh,
man.
really, man? I bet it was
Yeah,
pricey,
I'm sure
dude.
it sold out like crazy, but
Oh yeah.
it was something weird. It was something weird like they did with the Scream house when the new Scream came out, where they involved like David Arquette, and like it was like $1 or like $25. It
Okay.
was something weird like that. So I don't know what the ramifications was of it, but there was just no way I could go last year with my job and
Yeah.
everything. But hopefully they
That's
bring
cool,
that back
though.
around. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would
They-
love to do that.
The Christmas Story does that as well. The Christmas Story house. They
it's up for sale right now, I think.
Hmm.
I don't know if it just got bought or if it just got listed. But I
don't know.
remember it either way, it went up for sale like within the last week, I think. But yeah, so iconic and
It is.
and such important pieces of cinematic history. I'm glad that was your number one, man.
Me
really,
too.
I get very angry when people try to argue with me that it's not a Christmas movie. I get really angry
what?
about that.
God, dude,
I
people
know.
argue about
Trust me.
like, what?
Yes. It's so
That's
annoying.
wild.
Come on.
And I'm like, I will just drop your address. We can talk about it.
All
All
right,
right, dude.
number one.
What could it be?
What could it be?
Hmm.
It's Scream, baby.
Hello?
Hello.
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
I don't think so.
What's that noise?
Popcorn.
You making popcorn?
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
I would not. I probably wouldn't be on this podcast if it wasn't for this movie. I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for this movie. This movie was my gateway drug to the horror genre. It's why I love horror movies. It's everything to me, man. It's so 90s, but it's also my favorite horror movie of all time. Or it's not only horror movie, it's my favorite movie of all time. And I think why Scream works so well. I think Kevin Williamson's writing's perfect, and I think Wes Craven's directing is perfect. I think the ensemble is perfect. And what separates it from other like horror movies and slasher movies is that they flesh out the heroes as much as they flesh out the villains. Not a lot of movies do that, especially nowadays. Like they just focus too much on the villain, and you don't care for the cast. You don't care for your final girl. You don't care for these characters. And I think that's why I was like blown away by Terrifier 2 is because they fleshed out what's her name in the movie? Starts with an S, Mike. It's
you talking about Lauren Lavera's character?
Lauren's character's name. Sienna, maybe?
It's Sienna.
Really, I haven't seen a horror movie do fleshed out like your final girl or your heroes in a long time. And so that's why like I was pleasantly surprised by Terrifier 2. But Scream, man, I'll never forget that opening. Like I said, it's my favorite opening of all time. And it feels more than just like a horror movie opening. It feels like it was something documented by like real life events. And you were talking, Burke, about the Town That Dread the Sundown opening. That opening and Scream's opening, I think both feel so brutal because it feels more than just like a horror opening. Like there's there's depth to it. And it feels like something that happened in real life that's been documented. And that just goes to the writing, the cinematography, the acting. Like Drew Barrymore's performance in that, dude. Mike, you were talking about how she's right there. She's getting ready to be saved, and her parents are right there, but she's out of breath because she's been stabbed so much and she's in so much pain. And it's so sad. You got the score. And I'll never forget the first image of Ghostface you see is when he first enters the house. He runs through the hallway like a Grim Reaper on cocaine. Dude, it's
Yeah.
so intense. It's so intense and realistic feeling, and it fires on every like emotion in this movie. Like it's funny, it's relatable, it's scary, it's sad. It's lightning in a bottle, and you finally get to the reveal. It's the best whodunit movie ever. You're constantly questioning yourself. It's Dewey. It's the sheriff. Look at his boots, and there's so many red herrings.
The boots. God,
it's
that was
perfect.
so good.
It's perfectly
So
written.
It is.
And then I'll never forget the reveal of Billy and Stu, and never seeing something like that ever. Your jaw's on the floor, and they start stabbing themselves, and like I'll never forget like that scene and the opening, the two bookends of this movie. I was so nauseous seeing because it felt so
You
fucking
mean
realistic.
you were feeling woozy?
I was feeling woozy.
Woozy.
Oh, that was great. And like Matthew Lillard, like doing that and improving when he gets hit with the fucking phone, you dick. It's Scream is perfect. I would not, like I said, I would not be who I am today without Scream, and that is why is my number one.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I got one line for you, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Yes, they do. Also,
good.
Roger Jackson. I don't think I love Roger Jackson, but there's something about the way he delivers his lines in the first Scream that is so like sinister but simple. Like I think the more we get into the franchise, it gets really over the top and hokey and
it gets muddied. Yeah, it gets really muddy and
really try hard and muddied. But the first one, like, it just gets under your skin. He does a great job in that movie.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
It's a Scream, baby.
Scream. Well, it's interesting. My number one has already been brought up tonight, but it was not brought up on one of the lists. And my number one film is another Michael Mann film, and that is Heat.
Yeah, Roger Van Zandt.
Yeah, who's this?
You know what this is.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I sent a guy to deliver the package.
He didn't call. Is everything right?
Tell you what, forget the money.
What?
Forget the money.
It's a lot of money. What are you doing? What do you mean, forget the money?
What am I doing? I'm talking to an empty telephone.
I don't understand.
Because there was a dead man on the other end of this fucking line.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
For me, Heat is another film that is the epitome of 90s action and 90s thriller. And I feel like the 90s was so just like cram packed with great action and thriller movies. And some great like crime movies too. And I think it has elements of all of that. Like it's a drama, it's a thriller, it's action, it's crime. It is the way that you described it earlier, Kevin, just saying it was so precise. Like the precision of Michael Mann, and how vast his films feel. And I think that is what makes them kind of hit or miss for people, is like you can appreciate how involved they are. But sometimes people get lost in the vastness of the worlds that he creates. And unlike Last of the Mohicans, Heat is so massive in its like whatever you want to call it, like its universe, and there's so much going on, and you feel like every little piece of that movie is important. And there's so many great lines. I mean, one of the, like, even if you're not a De Niro or Pacino fan, which I'm admittedly not a mobster guy, but the scene with both of them in the conversation at the restaurant, at the diner, while they're getting coffee, it is one of my favorite scenes ever. It is some of the best written dialogue ever, in my opinion. it's so organic and genuine. It's just it's so epic to me. And it has one of my favorite lines from any movie ever. And it is when I don't want to give a ton of spoilers. If I don't know if you have you seen it, Mike? Have you watched Heat? Okay. Well, there's a line in it, and it won't spoil the movie, but uh, De Niro's character's on the phone, and the guy on the other line says, basically like, hello, and or what do you mean? He said, because I'm talking to an empty telephone, and I
Yeah.
think that is just like, dude.
That is a
And
great line.
he says,
Yeah.
huh? And he goes, because there's a dead man under this line, and hangs up. Like, that is just such a great line. It's so like powerful, and like you can feel like the rage in De Niro's character. And man,
Yeah, and you can feel the dread coming.
And it's another film to where you have like several like huge transitions in the story that like just weave their way through all of these different characters' lives. And I love films like that, and it just had to be my number one. It's probably my most rewatched like action drama. And I think the performances in that film, I'm a huge Val Kilmer guy too.
Yeah.
And Val Kilmer's character is probably the most emotionally charged in the film, and probably the best delivered, I think, overall. He's just going through it, and I love the way that he plays that character. And yeah, so if you haven't seen it, got to check out Heat. Even if it's not something that's like really like your brand, there's still maybe you can speak to this, Kevin. Like I still feel like it's such an important piece of cinema that it's worth watching, even if it's not really like up your alley, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah. The cast is stacked. The directing's like flawless. It's shot perfectly. Like that first scene where, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but I love the ending of it as well. I remember I actually like, I don't know if I must have caught the end of it on TV one day, because I do remember the ending of it, but I love the ending. I did really like Val Kilmer's performance, and Robert De Niro's performance. That line, dude, yeah, I'll never forget that little scene. So I do recommend it. I actually need to like rewatch it and give it another shot.
That is another one of my favorite shots ever in filmmaking, is that last shot at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. And I think someone did I don't remember if it was like some magazine did like a top 10 shots in cinematic history, and that shot made the list. So it is a powerful movie, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of subplot, and it's worth watching if you haven't checked it out.
Nice, dude.
Man,
number one
list. These lists were just
we made
wild.
it. We made it.
Wild list. Well, now
was there? Let me ask you this though. Was there a movie that was on nobody's list, like that was on your mind, but you were shocked was on nobody's list?
Yeah, that's the one that I'm not going to put in my honorable mentions, but that I'm shocked, and I'll bring it up right now since you asked. Okay. That is Jumanji.
Yeah.
Oh,
really, any Robin Williams movie, I wanted to get in my top 10.
Mine was Forrest Gump. I was a little shocked nobody had that on there. Yeah.
Jenny.
So that was shock. A little shock for me. But Jumanji's a real good one too.
Yeah. I guess we'll just I'll do my honorable mentions real quick. My 3 honorable mentions were Point Break.
Yes. Love that movie.
Fight Club.
Yep.
Of course.
And
David Fincher's best movie.
Yeah. And The Blair Witch.
Nice.
Those are my honorable mentions. And honestly, like any of those 3 movies could have landed in the top 10, depending on when I watched them recently, and just like how I felt the day that I finished that list. But yeah, those are my 3 honorable mentions.
What you got, Mike?
My 3 are all 3 kind of different genres in a sense. Friday was the honorable mention.
Oh my God. I love Friday.
So it's funny because when I went out to LA, I went and visited the house, or basically the street it was shot. It was just crazy that the whole movie was just shot like literally right there. It was just, I don't know. It was just weird. It was so surreal being there. But it's so funny, so simple. So I had to throw that in there because if I'm being honest, it probably could have made my top 10 just on how much I've seen that movie.
Yes.
I remember I used to have the little 3-pack of all 3 of those movies, and I would just when I was growing up in high school, and I would just toss it in when I would go to sleep at night. So Friday, hold on, maybe. Oh, Face Off. Was another one.
Classic Cage.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. I watched that not too long ago. Really good movie. And then I had Mrs. Doubtfire.
Okay.
As an honorable mention. So I kind of went along with you, Kevin, and really you as well, Burke. It's hard not to put to not even mention a Robin Williams movie in some type of way.
It was tough to leave him out because like Bill Paxton, John Candy, Robin Williams was right there. In terms of like actors that you really felt like were like your family, that you really connected with. And so leaving him out was tough, but he is in my honorable mentions as well. Mrs. Doubtfire is in there. What a great movie. So fun, crazy, so quotable. Love Mrs. Doubtfire. Also the movie that I did have on in the background is Pulp Fiction. I love Quentin Tarantino. I'm a big Tarantino guy. I just love his writing. I love his directing style and how cerebral they are and also brutal. He just goes for it. I love Pulp Fiction. I love John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. That dude kills me. He's like, pork tastes good, bacon tastes good. I just love John Travolta in that movie. And then also the first movie I ever saw, I was 3 years old. I was at Myrtle Beach with my family. I remember this was Jurassic Park. And I remember my sister was 2, and I think they advertised the movie as not being as like horrific and violent as it is. And so I think my parents thought it was going to be like some like adventure dinosaur movie. And so I remember loving every second of what I was watching, but my mom trying to cover my eyes, and my sister was like screaming and crying her guts out because she was so scared by the Dilophosaurus and Velociraptors. But Jurassic Park's a core memory, and it was hard to leave that one out.
That's a real good one.
That is a good. Yeah, I feel like an idiot for not even think that's a Dean Cundy. Dean Cundy was
Dean Cundy.
Man, one that popped in my head when you mentioned Face Off was Con Air. Con Air is epic, man. Really, Nick Cage is another one of those guys that just became such a superstar in the 90s. And I mean, The Rock. I mean, The Rock's another just like killer movie, man. Dude, we could go on. We might need to do another. We might need to do like an honorable mention.
I want to mention one. I just want to mention one more though. Because it was one of my favorite movies. I think it was the first double movie, like, you know, when you get them on VHSs and they were so long they had to put them on 2 VHSs.
Oh yeah, I remember
that's gonna be The Green Mile.
Okay, nice, dude.
One of my favorites, man. Yeah, one of my favorites.
Oh man, Michael Clark Duncan in that movie, dude. What a performance!
Man,
it's Shawshank Redemption's a 90s movie too.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I thought that was gonna be on the list.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man. We might need to do a second round 2.
I was gonna tease that Titanic was my number 1 because I watched that movie so much as a kid. I wanted to be Jack Dawson.
Yeah.
But one more I want to mention. My bad, Mike. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I had Titanic listed as an honorable mention too. I had 5 mentioned, and that Titanic was one of them.
One more I want to give a shout out to because I think it's so unique and hilarious is Galaxy Quest.
Oh, dude,
Yeah, with Tim
yeah,
Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman. It is so funny. I love that
it's
movie.
great, man. That is a great
One of
movie.
the I was just gonna say one of the most iconic songs in a movie. And I feel like we're just gonna keep naming off honorable mentions, but like a song that like it's just so iconic, and because based on the movie, I have to go Armageddon too. I just
Yeah,
had
dude.
to. I just
Armageddon.
had to.
We're definitely gonna have to do like just an honorable mention, or like you know, the 90s is just too vast. Like cinema in the 90s is too vast to really like.
Yeah.
We could have done top 20 and we'd still probably have films that
Yeah,
we left out. But
definitely.
I
Yeah.
love that you know that we really care about these films, because this is the longest that we've recorded in any of our episodes so far. And I think that's like a testament to how much these films really do mean to us. And like obviously like we share all of this emotion and energy about these films with each other, and I think that's really cool, that we get to sit down and talk to each other about it on the old interwebs. So man, I've had a really good time talking about these films, and I'm glad that you got to come on and that you're feeling up to it after
Yeah,
your
man.
after your illness. But man,
Of
I
course.
got some movies to watch, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. Again, thank y'all for having me. It was a lot of fun. I swear it did not feel like 3 hours.
No, I didn't, man.
But man, it was a good to stroll down memory lane, and then to your point, Burke, to have movies that we need to go back and watch as well. Like super excited to do that as well.
It's hard to like keep that stuff fresh in your mind, and to be able to like come on here and have lists to be like, hey, send me your list so I can really keep track of like what I need to watch. Like that's cool, you know, and I'm glad that we were able to do it. And Riv Dog made a little bit of a cameo.
He probably will from here on out.
My guy. Hey,
Yeah,
love that.
but
we need to get him like, you need a Riv Dog cam like that's like you could cut to like Riv shot.
Yeah,
like what Riv's doing.
God, man, he'd
That'd be
all over
awesome,
the
dude.
place. It'd be like Blair Witch.
Mike wouldn't be able to watch it.
He's so
I would be able to
active,
watch
man.
it.
But Mike, really, really, like Berg said, appreciate you taking 3 hours out of your day. I know you still aren't feeling the best, but it truly means a lot that one, you support our stuff because you're always liking and sharing, and from the bottom of my heart and Berg's heart, that's really cool. And that means a lot. And so thank you again for doing that and for coming on the show and spending some time with us, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, echo that entirely. Like you and Marie have been so supportive of you know, Kevin and I's projects here, and we truly appreciate it, and love what you guys are doing too. And we're gonna have to have you both on. Like, you know, that's the progression, I guess, right?
Yeah.
That's gonna be the progression. So
well, you're talking about progression, Burke. I think it's time for you to come on the Take One podcast, man.
Okay, all right, there it is. That's the official. Is that the official invite?
Oh, of course.
I'll have my agent get in touch with your agent, and then
hey, that's fine. Just let me know what the price is gonna be, man.
There you go. Okay. Also, really quickly, want to shout out. We got our intro music and our outro music. Is a good friend of mine, Lee. He goes by Chief Ghoul. Super talented musician, just all around solid guy. Please check him out on Instagram. He is chief.ghoul. And then on Spotify and Apple Music, he is Chief Ghoul. He's got, I think, 5 albums now. It's just constantly working on new stuff. And he's kind of he's progressed into that more like melodic metal, kind of like doom metal stuff. And it's really fun to listen to. So Lee, thank you so much for letting us use your music, your art on our podcast, and go check them out. But once again, Mike, thanks so much for being on. Had a ton of fun, and can't wait to.
Thank y'all for having me, man. I really appreciate it. Dude. It was super fun. I really
can't wait till next
time.
Cannot wait till next time.
And one more time, if you don't mind plugging where people can find you
please
again.
You can follow me on Instagram at mbish_, and you can follow the Take One podcast on Instagram as well at take1podcast_. So really
And also
appreciate it, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
also follow his YouTube page, Mike Bish.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. I'm recently new to YouTube. So yeah, you could just, I think YouTube has a new thing out. You could just like search like I think it's at Michael Bish. I think it's what I have it under. So all the Take One podcasts go up on there. So appreciate it, fellas. It was a lot of fun. Oh, I meant to say, you know, Spotify did their like yearly raps or whatever. Y'all were number 2 on my list for a listen podcast.
All right, thanks, dude.
Man,
that's awesome. That's an honor, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, y'all do great things here, man, for sure.
Thanks again, dude.
Thanks, man.
Keep feeling better, man.
Yeah,
all right, we'll be back for another one, hopefully next weekend. So be on the lookout. But hope everyone enjoyed. See you later.
Later, guys.